The sky so far, but I can't lose it.
Time to kick off a busy Sunday on RaceSpotTV with two 60-minute sprint races in the IVRA GT Sprint Series. It's round number 5 and 2 race weekends lie between us on our inaugural IVRA GT Sprint Champion. Thank you for joining us here live on RaceSpotTV. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Delighted to be back on RaceSpot for more continued coverage of IVRA competitions. And alongside is Somil Aurora. And Somil, here we are, Road Atlanta, one of the most famous tracks in sports car racing in the United States. And we get ready for 2 more exciting sprint races in our GT3 spec machinery. I'm not sure how better we can really celebrate another Sunday.
Absolutely, Arjuna. It's just a perfect day. I spent the whole day reading my favorite book, had some pizza, had my favorite drink. Now it's time for my favorite category of race cars at my personal favorite track. Can't get better for me. And trust me, even if you didn't have that sort of a start to the Sunday, this is just the perfect way to make it better. What a track Road Atlanta is, Arjuna. Probably one of the very few racing circuits where you can actually have fun as a driver while driving and also have an entertaining race. This should be brilliant.
Let's take a look at our series schedule as cars roll themselves out for the first of our qualifying sessions. 2 qualifying sessions, but let's take a look at the schedule. Road Atlanta for our penultimate race meeting, but next time out, 1 month from today, we'll be at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park to round out our season. And you know, Somil, it's been an up and down year of some interesting races, and while we might have a slightly smaller grid than we expect today, the one thing that we know, with 2 race weekends left, anything can happen here, and there is still a fight at the top of the championship.
Oh, there absolutely is, Arjuna. It is going to be such a crazy one. And last time out at Zandvoort, we saw so many big changes. The RSI Esport by G Performance 55 car had that major issue that has pushed them back into P4. And now the door is open up for the RSR 56 car, Mac Performance and Team Heusinkveld for the championship fight. And the second RSR car, the 55, they're not out of it completely as well. So these last 2 rounds, seriously, they have such a big role to play in determining who is the champion towards the very end. And we couldn't have chosen 2 better tracks for that.
Take a look at the event format. As mentioned, 2 60-minute sprint races. We've got 15 minutes of qualifying underway right now, and then we'll roll it on over into our second of the qualifying sessions. 5 cars from warm-up get promoted directly into qualifying 2, while we'll then see a final pole position shootout. And of course, Somil, who can forget our second round here? It's a reverse grid race, and we'll get a small break, but live race control, we haven't had a single safety car so far this season. I'm hoping we continue that trend.
Oh, absolutely. It has been just so good and so clean in the GT Sprint Championship. It's good to see this sort of stuff. And in the reverse grid one, man, it's going to be very interesting because we have all the top teams proving their mettle in the first race, and then all of a sudden you find them all the way at the very back. How do they cope on? How do they pass? How do they climb up the ranks without making those critical mistakes and without having any lapse of concentration? I think it's going to be a real good challenge. Even though we may have a slightly smaller grid than usual, should be a rather fun one towards the very end. What do you reckon, Arjuna?
I'm really looking forward to this one. Yesterday we had the IVRA Club Sports Series, and today it's IVRA GT Sprint Series, and a month from today we'll be back for our championship finales in both of them. Let's take a look at the point structure so we can talk about the series standings as well. 200 points for a race win, all the way down to a solitary point for 43rd. And as a result, if you take a look at these standings, we'll see RSR Esport by G Performance no longer the 55 out front. You'll see after some struggles last time out for Boris Evander, they're now down into 4th. The important point though, Mag Performance at number 14, they are now our championship challengers.
You're absolutely right, Arjuna. It was such a big weekend last time out at Zandvoort, and for the 55, it was looking like they had a big hold on the championship, but the way it went away from them, through no fault of their own, through an iRacing crash, and that was such a big story, but their teammates still lead. And it's interesting to see Mac Performance right up there, because Mac Performance throughout the season have not even taken a single race victory. They are the epitome of consistency. They're showing exactly which strategy works pretty well, and there they are, only 5 points behind the leaders. That is how you run the season.
So that is our look in at the championship standings, and qualifying is underway. Let's take a look at those times as they start to come in. 30 minutes left overall, and we've still got a number of cars out there on the track. Of course, you have to remember, in IVRA competition, once you head out onto track, you cannot come back down onto pit lane, get a fresh set of rubber, then get back out onto track and set better lap time. So right now, you see at the top of the timing sheets, it's RSR by G Performance. The first time we're seeing both of those cars competing in qualifying one. They'll have a bit more of a task to do then, Sommel, to work their way up through the field in the first race. But nevertheless, Boris Evando in first. Right now we're looking, though, at the championship competitor, Oscar Koper, in the number 55.
Yeah, absolutely. Oscar Koper has been such a consistent driver, and he's been pretty good in race number 1. And he especially has this good sense of establishing a lead early on, so he knows exactly what to do in that department. And for that, you need a really good qualifying. And the Lamborghini, Arjun, I think should just fit around well at Road Atlanta, because it's, of course, the cousin, I wouldn't say cousin, but a close sibling of the Audi. Very much built on the same platform, the same chassis, some minor adjustments here and there, but it thrives at high to medium speed circuits, and Road Atlanta should be one where it really benefits. So RSR by G Performance should have a slight bit of hardware advantage in that department.
So there they go through turn number 3. Let's turn our attention over to Team Oblivion Racing. They're in third, Sommel, also in the Lamborghini. A nice little paint scheme here you'll see for this team. It has been interesting. Lots of switchers to this brand new Huracan. Not as many switching over to the BMW as I might have expected. We've only got 2 of them in the field today. A lot more of these Huracans.
Yeah, exactly. People have thought that this one is a better machine, and it's actually down to the nature of the M4, because the M4, a lot of the drivers said that it's not really the best at any particular aspect. It feels rather doggish at times. And so it was a bit surprising to see Solar Vision do such a good job with the BMW last time out at Zandvoort, but still, it hasn't influenced any teams' choices. They've still gone ahead with the Huracan. And what's sadder is that Solar Vision with the M4 GT3 are not going to be competing today, Arjuna.
So 15 cars out on track having set times. Team Hoisingveld, we wait for Matt Stortz Hutzfeld in the number 78 to do the same as well. And Mag Performance, also championship competitors, they are out on track right now. And Sommel, this is going to be an important qualifying session for them. They need to make sure they get up towards the front, because we have it looking for our race results, our top 5 standings, live points. There you can see on the top right-hand corner. 5 points separate first and second, so race number 1 is going to be crucial to set up race number 2.
Absolutely, Arjuna, and the best part is that even though you may win race number 1, it may not be the most beneficial thing for you in the championship, because then you get sent all the way to the back of the grid. That's not what you want. You don't want to overtake many cars in the second race, which is going to be a pretty difficult task considering how driven these teams are to hold on to their position. So ideally, you want a good qualifying, but you want a decent result, not the best in the world in race number 1, so that you can hammer in those points in race 2 as well. And that is what Mac Performance have done especially well. Really consistent, very good team. They got a second place and a third place last time out at Zandvoort, so they know exactly what they're doing. But Arjuna, the critical point over here, Michael Schlacks at Zandvoort made 2 moves around the outside at Tarzan Bocht. Now, here's a man who knows how to make moves at rather outrageous places. What do you think is going to make a move here today? A rather really crazy one.
Oh, well, I'm not going to make any predictions there. We'll have to wait and see. Just a update for everyone watching. We are investigating some technical issues. If you're experiencing some buffering, it's not just you. We're working on it, and we hope to have that sorted in time for race number 1. But qualifying, we have 10 minutes, just under 10 minutes left in qualifying 1 before qualifying 2 will get underway, and Mag Performance will come across the line to set, I think, their first qualifying lap time. What's it going to be like for Michael Schlack's 7th best so far, 0.4 of a second off. But of course, Sommel, tires still coming up to temperature and pressure, not too much to worry about, and let's jump on board and ride for a lap here with Schlack's and see how this car is handling.
Now diving down towards the double right hand is the critical part. This one, you have to use the camber to your advantage, and Schlack's doing exactly that. Navigating through the track, and now this is the long backstretch. Here, you have to make sure that your exit is correct for the final one, because the draft here is going to be such a huge factor, and you need the best run possible. Schlack seemingly has the right one, past the quick right hand kink. Have to notice your braking marker right about now. A slightly early one. Hitting through, just avoiding going too aggressive on these curves, because if you do, they can really shift you out, and then it's just a case of commitment. Powering out through the final corner. Your turning in point is very critical, and you have to stamp on the full throttle. Just make sure that you have the utmost level of commitment, because even if you lift off slightly, that could be a lot of time lost. And Michael Schlack has made sure that he does gain that time. He's currently in P number 2, but the gap still around 2.5 of a second to the Hersingwell team, who have been doing quite a good job in qualifying lately. So perhaps not a very bad place for him to be in, but certainly could be slightly better.
Yeah, very much so. And only 2 cars left on track right now. Team Hoistingfeld, who have gone to the top of the timing sheets. And that means the 5 cars that will now join the rest of the top 10 in qualifying 2 is going to be Shipsky Racing, Archer Brothers in the 202, N-Race Esports, 5th place in the championship, Leopard Esports in the 10 machine, and then Quasar Sim Racing and Garrett Thompson in the 25. Let's look in with Matt Thorts Hutzfeld. It was an interesting day yesterday, Sommel, for Hoisingveld in the Club Sports Series. The GT4 car might have been the strongest competitor in the entire field. Didn't take the race win, as Hutzfeld has a bit of an issue coming over the top of the hill. Their TCR machine did have a bit more success taking victory, so they'll be hoping to replicate that success from yesterday, as it looks like all cars done for qualifying 1.
Yep, all cars done for qualifying 1, but I'm still very baffled as to how Team Hersingwell did not get that double victory yesterday in the Club Sport race. Because, okay, they got the job done in TCR, as we expected. They have been excellent in that category. But just a very, very unfortunate day for them in GT4. So it was all seemingly set, and then it just went wrong towards the very end. Who would have thought that they had such a commanding lead, then a couple of errors here and then what happened towards the end? I genuinely did not expect that to happen, but here we are then, can't help it, and they'll want to change that.
So back live then on RaceSpotTV as we await qualifying 2 to get underway here from Road Atlanta, and unfortunately, due to these technical issues, it appears as though we've now had to cut our feeds to Twitch and Facebook, but we're still live on YouTube's YouTube channel, RaceSpot's YouTube channel. Apologies for all of my bumbling up here, but it's been a rather hectic opening start to this broadcast as I try and work my way through various technical difficulties. If you do enjoy these broadcasts, do remember to follow us for more sim racing action across YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at RaceSpotTV. And Sommel, qualifying 1 done. I'll be honest, I was a little bit distracted there, but the important thing, take a look at the left-hand side of the screen and the qualifying times. Mag Performance in 2nd, their championship rivals, Oscar Koper, RSR by G Performance in 3rd.
Can I say we just have the usual suspects in the top 4 right there? It is just exactly what you would expect to see. All these four teams, Helsingville, Mac Performance, and the two RSR teams, they just have been there from the very beginning, at the very top. But Team Oblivion, Arjuna, they found their way up into P number 5. And it's no miracle. They actually have been quite good, but haven't been able to translate it much into race results. Here they are, a top 5 qualifying slot. Considering how the season has been, that is excellent.
Well, now that we've resolved these technical issues, I can take a deep sigh of relief and bring in Race Control, Casper DeCourt and Julian Bell. Yesterday we had some exciting announcements about the IVRA competitions for 2021 and 2022. And Julian, I'll start with you. Let's kick off by talking about the regular series. We've got a number of changes. Fall and spring seasons for the Endurance and GT Sprint. But I think the main thing that I'm focusing on is another diverse set of racetracks that we'll visit across another winter of racing action.
Oh yeah, I think really for all the series that are coming up, we're excited for the calendars that we've got. We really wanted to spread it out as much as we could. We like to have diverse challenge for the drivers in all the series. And of course, we're expecting that there's going to be new tracks coming up from iRacing, the Hungaroring, the Red Bull Ring, and people are obviously going to want to see those on the calendar. So, it made sense to get those in there, and hopefully we see them in time. But I think, again, just the diversity and the challenges there, I think adding, an extra 6 to the GT series is going to be super exciting. And to me, I think that they have the most challenging calendar. I think it's going to be absolute fireworks watching the whole season through with them, both the fall and the spring. So very, very excited for what's coming up.
Casper, a question for you then, and I'll pose a question I think Sommel's asking. You do like to challenge drivers to head to tracks that we usually wouldn't necessarily think of as multi-class tracks, but in GT Sprint in particular, we're going to a race track known as the Charlotte Roval that I think Sommel's very interested in. Why do you think that's going to be such a great racetrack for the GT3 machinery?
I think in general there's a lot of hidden gems on the iRacing surface that official series sometimes like to stay away from, because they're tracks that people don't really know very well, so they don't expect good racing there. But we've seen in the past with other series that we've done that even tracks that aren't used very often do produce good racing. And Charlotte in particular, I think we've had Club Sport pre-qualifying there this season, and we saw some great multi-class racing. The GT3 cars are a little bit faster, but it'll be single class, albeit with Pro Am and Am driver divisions. But I think the beauty of GT3 is that you can put them anywhere, and they will race there, no matter what the challenge of the track brings. And Charlotte is such a unique track on the iRacing service. It's a small roval, but it's still got nice flowing sections. It's got the 2 chicanes to break up the banking. It's a unique track, and I think it's worth taking the GT3s there to see what's going to happen.
Well, I'm excited about it for sure. Julian, let's talk about the new announcement that I got to break yesterday. The IVRA Triple Crown makes its debut this summer, and 3 24-hour races, all totaling up to about $13,000 in prize money. It's a big step for your sanctioning body, and I think we're excited to have uninterrupted coverage of that here on RaceSpotTV. What was the driving force behind this series, and why are you guys so excited about what we think is a new venture in sim racing?
Yeah, I mean, this one it's something we've been kind of mulling over for a while, and we've looked at definitely several different options of new things that we could bring to the table. And with IVRA, we have something unique in our full course yellows and the way that we go through our procedures with them, and to offer everybody on our grid that's familiar with us, and even new teams, the opportunity to get into a full 24-hour race and be able to compete for a podium or a win the entire time, rather than it be the top couple teams sprint away because they're consistently fast, but you have no way to get yourself back up there, versus with the introduction of the safety cars to those types of events, you're potentially in the race for the entire 24 hours. And I think, especially this season with endurance and club sport, especially with how close club sport is right now, which is incredible in the Cup and the GT4s and the standings. The strategy that's involved is so different, and you as a driver, as a team, as a spotter, have to bring so much more to the table in order to compete than to just be quick. You have to strategize, you have to plan for alternate scenarios that are predictable, but also at the same time that might occur that you have no idea about. And you also know that if you do have an incident, you can get yourself back in and potentially even win the race after taking repairs if you time it correctly to take them under a full course caution. You have that 4 or 5 minutes. So I think like you said, it's something that's unique, and we really think that people that are unused to the safety cars or that know them are really going to enjoy this challenge because it is a very, very big challenge.
So qualifying to getting underway. Casper, I'll ask you one final question before we focus in on qualifying here. What are you more excited about? The fact that you've got these Triple Crown races, or this great new schedule? There's some stuff that we haven't even mentioned on the broadcast yet that we'll cover over the next couple of months as we wrap up this season of IVRA competition. But there's a lot on the schedule that I think you guys and the entire team behind the scenes has been working very hard on.
Oh, I think we're all excited about everything. For me personally, I'm still excited about what's to come this season. We've already referred to it, the season finale for Club Sport at Sebring. That's going to be an amazing fight. We've got 3 races to go in endurance, VIR. That's going to be a sight to behold. And then Imola and Motegi racing through the night for 10 hours. So I can't wait for those races. And then, the next season we'll have Monza in July. That's going to be a challenge in and of itself for us in race control to do a 24-hour manned race control shift. And then I think every race next season is going to be a fun one to look forward to. Like we've had this season, every race this season so far has been great to watch back. So I think we'll have more of the same and even better next season.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Casper de Court, Julian Bell. Thanks for joining us, guys, and go and enjoy the next couple of hours because hopefully we haven't had any safety cars so far this season. We'll continue that trend on today.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the race.
So Casper de Court, Julian Bell, very excited about the future of IVRA competition, Sommel, and why not? It's this IVRA Triple Crown and all the prize money and excitement associated around it. I can't wait to get underway. Like I said yesterday, though, just a little disappointed that I'm going to be breaking my very good record of being on basically every single minute of IVRA broadcasts.
Well, sometimes you just gotta let go. Now that if you love, you gotta let it go. That's what they say, right? I'm not really good with that, but that's what I've heard about at least.
So, qualifying underway then, and you can take a look at the times as they come in on the left-hand side of the screen. We still wait for the number 78 for Team Hoistingveld to head out onto the track, but we've got the likes of Mag Performance, RSR by G Performance, and every single car has now set lap times, and you can see the Mag Performance car diving down into the final corner to set a qualifying time. Let's jump on board for a lap here at Road Atlanta. Down into turn 1, slight dab of brakes as you hug it into the inside and power up the hill into the blind braking zone of turn number 3. You brake early and then try and use all the curb on the inside to get on to the curb on the left side to rotate that car down into the S's. You can really sling the car in. The GT3 cars have just enough downforce to make it stick. Brake before the curb on the right hand side and then rocket up onto this curb in turn 5. Important braking zone coming up here though, because turn 6, it's cambered in, but it's all about setting up for turn number 7. So carry a bit more speed here through the corner, and then brake early. Get all the way to the curb on the inside, and roll yourself nicely onto the power for this run down the back straightaway. Technically, as you head under the bridge, you're going through turn 8, but me and Sommel don't really like to call it that way. Your one opportunity here to really take a breath, talk to your teammate, grab a drink of water, and focus in for the lap that's about to start all over again, because you plunge down the hill into the braking zone of 10A, use the curb on the left, use all the curb on the right as well, underneath the Suzuki Bridge, down the hill, and to complete a lap here at the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta track. It's one of my favorite tracks, Sommel, in the entire world, and I must say, you know I like an IndyCar race. An IndyCar race at Road Atlanta is one of the most fun things I've done on the iRacing service.
I just can't fathom why IndyCar haven't been to Road Atlanta yet. I mean, for quite a long while at least. I think they did back in the day. I'm not very sure. Not really good with my IndyCar knowledge as such, but that would be such a dream. And the best part is, if you can't do it in real life, which, let's be honest, a vast majority of us can't, you can log in on iRacing and do just that. But, Arjuna, I'm going to be posing a reverse question. It's usually against the order of what we do on the broadcast. But according to you, what actually is the most exciting part about Road Atlanta? Because seriously, there's just so much, just like Suzuka last time out, there's just so much about Road Atlanta that is so attractive and easy on the eye, I'm sorry.
It is very much one of those tracks where it is also so short, Sommel, that you don't really get a chance to think about what's your favorite corner, because by the time you finish a lap, you get to do it all over again. We're looking at lap times in the 1 minute 18 brackets in GT3, and the lap record, it's about a 1 minute 6 set by the incredible LMP1 machines that used to race around this very track. You talk about IndyCar coming here. I'm not sure that would be the safest option, but at the same time, I do remember those LMP1 cars coming here. So you see a bit of drafting from the two RSR teammates. Boris Avando takes advantage, and of course, Sommel, let's talk a little bit about the disappointment last time out for this team, because Avando had a number of technical failures, and well, the net result is this car no longer in the championship fight.
Which is such a big shame, right? Because the number 56 has just been, the number 55, I beg your pardon, has been just so good. And to see them have that bad round last time out was just so disappointing. But the car you're watching on the screen right now, they are right in the thick of it. And the best part is they have a teammate who is just as quick, if not quicker than them. So they can really get that teammate assistance that, say, someone like a Hurstingwell will not be able to do, because their second car has withdrawn. So RSR Esport by G Performance can use it to their advantage, and maybe if the 55 car is not able to compete for the championship, it can help propel the 56 one in situations like, for example, blocking off the car behind, or maybe just creating a buffer of sorts. That is the kind of advantage that they'll be looking forward to, and the most visible one, Arjuna, drafting in qualifying.
I just like to say, by the way, Team Hoisingveld still down on the pit lane. Can you imagine this, Sommel, if Matt Thor's Hutzfeld is so confident in the lap time he set for qualifying 1 that he's not going to come back out onto track for qualifying 2. Paul Searle for CXR Project Black in 3rd is down on pit lane as well, so his qualifying run is over as Boris Avando is going to tow his teammate Koper down to the line. Koper obviously leads the championship. What's it going to be this time around? A 1. We wait for the time to actually come in. Okay, no, now he's starting the hot lap, so this is going to be the one to watch, Sommel. Let's jump on board, and let's see once again how this Lamborghini, which is known for being a bit of a handful at times, is handling around this track. You'll see very smooth on the input, just trying to balance the weight down in the S's.
The real problem is the S's for the Lamborghini, because it is such a handful to handle, and the S's, in whatever car you're driving, it may be a local hatchback as well, it still is such a tricky corner that can upset every car in the world. So then, here we see Matt Sturgertz. Well, he had to come out at some point, with only 6 minutes to go. It reminds me a lot like Sebastian Vettel in 2011, where everyone else just drew their lap. Vettel used to come in last 5 minutes to go, and then said, right, this is the challenge, now I'll nail it down. But can Matt Sturgertz get pole position much like him back in the day?
Oh, and look at that, over the crest of turn 5. You can get a little bit loose with all 4 wheels over the curb, and of course, Team Hoisingveld pole position. He might abandon this lap if he feels like he doesn't need to go out there and set a better qualifying lap time. RSR by G Performance still out there on track, as is Team Oblivion Racing, right behind the Team Hoisingveld 78 car. 6 minutes left in qualifying then. 4 cars left out on track, and it looks like Boris Avando is pulling aside as Oscar Koper goes up into 3rd in qualifying, a 1:18.268. That's going to be it for him in the number 55. 3 cars left in qualifying then, Sommel. We've got enough time, though, for Team Hoisingveld to set a couple of laps here.
Just about enough time, and that'll be pretty good. And the temperatures are just about perfect for qualifying. just enough sun. It's pretty cold out there as well. Enough light for them to see their apexes pretty well. It's what one would call happy hour.
Ah, you're right. You know, it is happy hour. What's the time in the virtual Brazelton, Georgia? 5:15 p.m. in the afternoon. Beautiful shot of the sun poking through the trees as Team Hoisingveld Audi down into the S's. Seems just as composed as the Lamborghini so far. How much of the curve does he use? All of the curve and a little bit more as well. Reminds me a little bit yesterday, Samuel, of what we saw yesterday with Shiochi Ishimaru at Suzuka, where he was running very wide. Ooh, as unfortunately Team Hoisingveld gets a bit onto the grass in the middle of turn 6 and 7. That compromises this lap. But again, it reminds me of Ishimaru yesterday, who threw Degner 2 at one of the biggest championship-defining moments I think I've seen on iRacing.com.
Seriously, that was such a painful one to watch. But you kind of get a feeling that it was a long time coming, because Ishimaru was carrying that line for every single lap, and somewhere deep down you knew that you won't be able to sustain it for 30 odd minutes, right? You have to make that one mistake. And unfortunately for Shoichi, he's such a good driver, but it just came at the worst possible time. He's going to have a big task to do in the final round, much like Matt Stark-Hertzfeld. However, it can be assisted if he can translate this big qualifying result that he holds on to so far into a big race win, because then he takes the challenge to RSR and Mac Performance right towards. In this particular battle, Hoisingveld, I wouldn't call them the dark horses, but they certainly are the team with the least points of that top 3 group, so they have a lot more to do. But so far, it seems that the confidence and the pendulum is really swinging in their direction right now.
Take one more live look in at the live points. You can see the 78 in third. Deficit of almost 100 points. And with the smaller field size that we have today, just 22 cars in today's grid, I think unfortunately, Sommel, that's going to be a bit of a challenge for the Hoisingveld crew to really overcome. And unless we see the 56 and the 14 have a bit of a disastrous start.
Wood, Arjuna, wood.
Oh yes, no, I should knock on all the wood that I have around me, but unless something disastrous happens to those front 3. For Hoisingveld, they're very much in a battle on their own. There is, though, an interesting scrap for 4th between the 55 and the 199. Apparently, I was flipping around those two in my head. It's the 56 that's in the championship lead. Or am I getting confused, Sommel? And has Boris Evando switched from the 55 to the 56?
You are absolutely correct. Ovando is now driving for the 56 car. And I think that's because Ovando is one of their star drivers and they want him piloting the top machine that can be going for the championship. And by the rules, you can actually do that. You can't switch drivers between your entry throughout the season. So that is definitely possible. So Ovando has moved up to the 56 car because they are the ones that can fight for the championship. And RSR says, right, we want the best driver in our best car with the highest chance of winning the championship. We're going to make the switch. We can't be bothered about anything else.
I mean, it makes sense. Let's be clear. It makes absolute sense when you're fighting for championships. I just wish I had realized a little bit sooner when I was talking about those cars in qualifying. So the championship leader then is in 5th place in qualifying. 2nd place in the championship, 2nd place on the grid as well. And then Oscar Koper, who's slotted himself into that 55 car very nicely, 3rd place. And CXR Project Black no longer in the venerable Ford GT, which is a shame, but they're in the Lamborghini Huracan as well. Yeah. So here comes Hoisingveld through the final corner, underneath the Michelin Bridge. What's the lap time going to be for Hutzfeld? It's a 1:18.920, so he's actually 0.8 of a second off of his lap time from qualifying 1. I wonder, Sommel, if he really was just waiting to see if it was even worth coming out to set a lap time and maybe just getting a bit of practice under his belt.
Yeah, could be, but man, he's left it with quite a margin, isn't he? What, 0.05 of a second? That is just ridiculous. And Michael Schlacks might just be saying, oh man, had I just got one corner slightly more correctly, I could have had pole position, but it's alright towards the end. I think P2 is not a very bad place to be in, especially if you're Mac Performance, because it just aligns with their agenda of not winning, but being in just a very good place so that you have a good starting position for race 1 and race 2, and so you end up getting the maximum chunk of points. I think, Arjuna, we could very well have a situation where if Mac Performance wins, it could be a team that hasn't won a single race and they still win the championship, much like Corvette and IMSA last year.
I wouldn't be too surprised. Consistency has been the name of the game across of the entirety of the IVRA competition. So here comes Hoisingveld. What's the lap time going to be on the second flying lap? Still slower. This time it's a 1:18.799. End of qualifying then for the Team Hoisingveld driver, who will take the opportunity to maybe go in and practice one final pit entry. And that's something that we haven't really talked about here, Sommel. Pit entry, it's not the simplest, as well as pit exit. And I say pit exit is not simple. It's pretty simple to get up to speed. What can be difficult sometimes is that merging of cars on the pit exit with cars flying themselves around turn 1. And I've been in a race on multiple occasions where I've seen incidents coming out of pit exit right in front of me.
Same, Arjuna, literally the same. Firstly, let's talk about pit entry because, oh, seriously, coming right out downhill from the crest, you have to slow so much just to get your pit entry line correctly. Otherwise, you just tend to have the feeling of carrying as much speed as you possibly can. And if you do that, there's a good chance that you might miss your pit entry and end up having a big slide down the cliff straight into the wall. Not what you want. But the pit exit as well, Arjuna, just converges at, I wouldn't say the wrong place, but in a very tricky place where you're literally blindsided towards the left. So you don't know which car is actually coming in past the wall. So it's a very tricky situation. Take a look at from this onboard camera. Right down this blind side, this is where you have to commit to the pit lane. And see how tricky it is to actually stay within the yellow line and then slow down enough for this one. It's a tricky place to be in, but I think practice and just driver awareness is the key to that.
Well, and he noticed as well, Hutzfeldt doing the right thing and sticking to the left side of the pit wall, making sure he's in the fast lane. We saw cars getting dinged for that yesterday, but let's take a look then at the starting grid for the first race of our race weekend, because it is Team Hoisingveld on the pole position, a 1:18.139, half a tenth of a second back. Michael Schlacks in second place in the championship, trying to gain on the number 56 of Boris Avando. Oscar Copa slots into the 55 inside of row 2. Paul Searle on the outside of row 2. The championship leader, though, back in 5th, with Maxime Marriott on the outside. Slightly smaller grid than usual, so we'll work our way through relatively slowly. Lightbit Esports in 7th, with Thomas Cope for Team Oblivion Racing in 8th. Caleb John Lavender for the Archer Brothers Esports in 9th, with Garrett Thompson for Quasar Sim Racing in their Lamborghini back in 10th. The Apex Missers didn't miss too many Apexes in qualifying. They're only half a second back from Team Hoisingveld. They've got Shipsky Racing in the 222 on their outside. Shipsky Racing, they had a winner in every single race, or rather every podium, every race yesterday. Yoni Waters, the second Quasar Sim Racing car, in 13th. Mayor Sim Speed Performance and Team Boss Manuel Mayer lines up in 14th, with Team Vikings and the 777 in 15th. Next Level Racing in 16th, with Lapset Racing Team number 11 Audi in 17th, and the second Apex Missers cars, the 186, back in 18th. Final page then of starters, just 22 cars on today's grid. Martin Hobson in the Ferrari for Lapset Racing back in 19th, with the Roaring Chicken Nuggets back in 20th. They'll have a perfect 20-piece of nuggets to work their way through in the first race today, with Ren Zielman in the McLaren in 21st, and Awesome Motorsports Group and Pierre Burmeister in 22nd. We'll get a full pace lap here then as the Porsche pace car pulls away from the starting line. And again, Sommel, we've got 4 races to go, 4 hours of action before we'll crown our inaugural series champion. And right from the get-go, this series has delivered the action. And GT3 cars, well, they're not just going to be in GT3 Sprint next year for IVRA. They'll make their step up into the IVRA Endurance competition as well. And I think that's going to be interesting to see and compare and contrast how this class races in a sprint format versus endurance.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be so much fun, right? It just plays into the whole agenda and the narrative of IVRA competition growing and becoming ever so bigger. It may be a good thing for the future, but for now, we're just going to get a rather good preview of what to expect in a race like this one, as if we already haven't got some really good races early on this season.
And remember, you can use the hashtag IVRA League to stay in touch with us and to be featured on the broadcast, as we've got 2 hours of racing action and a little bit of a break in between that as well. So we'd love to stay in touch with you, and Cars work their way down into turn 6 to get underway then for the very first time. It's going to be an all Audi row 1, an all Lamborghini row 2, and you have to go to row 3 to find the first BMW for N-Race Esports on the outside. I am hearing, by the way, Sommel, that the BMW is going to be very strong come the final round of the season at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, so you have to wonder for N-Race Esports, who are fighting for 3rd and 4th in the championship, what they can do in the final 4 races of this championship.
Oh yeah, N-Race Esports have been very good. N-Race Esports have been just on the edge of that top 5 battle, and there was a great deal of potential. Last time out at Zandvoort was okay, could have been better to be very honest with you. But now that they've got the BMW and a surge of confidence towards the end of the season, you could very well see them get in a far, far better position. I'm actually quite intrigued to see what goes on for them this year.
So the cars working their way into the chicane for the final time before we go green flag racing. The field will be left in control of Team Hoisingveld. And to remind everyone, there is a designated start zone that we must be using, so the cars will funnel their way underneath the bridge. The flag is in the hands of Barney, the flagman. He waves it, but we still wait for Team Hoisingveld to pick up the throttle, and we go green flag racing, round number 9 of the IVRA GT Sprint Series, and already 3 wide as we come down in towards turn number 1. Single file at the front of your field, but N-Race Esports has to defend from Archer Brothers. Already that Audi looks to make some headway in toward the top 10. Hoisingveld RSR still single filed at the front of your field. Let's take a look at the mid-pack as they have to go 2 wide coming through turn number 3. And this is checking them up, Sommel. So we head down into turn number 5. Team Hoisingveld already has a 6/10 of an advantage here.
Absolutely, but take a look at that. Oscar T. Cooper having a big moment right there. The key news, he has passed Michael Schlacks to get up into P number 2.
Yeah, and we ride on board with Michael Schlacks. This is now that championship agenda where RSR by G Performance have that team car that can potentially have a bit of an impact in this championship picture. Look at this train of cars filing their way onto the back straightaway, using this draft to come down in towards that braking zone at the chicane for the first time. Your primary passing opportunity in the lap, and you can see they're all just for now, Sommel, not able to make anything work. And as I say that, it looks like who was that? Roaring Chicken Nuggets potentially side by side with someone. Everyone else single file though as we finish up lap number 1.
Absolutely, all nice and clean. Max Hurts for leading the way, leading the charge, but Oscar De Copa able to get the jump on a rather hesitant Michael Schlacks early on, and that is why the RSR car is up ahead. But look at this one! What is that? That
was Mayor Simspeed going very defensive from Shipsky Racing and almost opening up the door for the Apex Missers as we climb up the hill in towards turn 3. Oh, very close between the Apex Missers and that BMW for Shipsky Racing. Shipsky Racing just about to hold off. And this is 13th, 14th, and 15th as they are losing time to the cars in front of them. The gap out front now an entire second as that Team Hoisingveld car tries to run away. Oscar Koper is able to gap the car behind him very slightly, Sommel. And your battle for the championship is now really heating up as Boris Evander closes in on the tail end of Michael Schlacks.
Absolutely, but I'm curious to see what happened to Mayer right there, because initially we saw him defending from the Shipsky car, and all of a sudden it seems like he's stumbling down the timing screen, which is rather absurd to say the least.
I think he had a bit of an off-track moment, as you can see in the background there. Still getting aggressive further back. It's this front pack where they're being a bit more sensible. Late under brakes for that CXR Lamborghini as he closes on the tail end of Michael Schlacks. He's lost out 7/10 of a second already to Oscar Koper in front. Another car off the track, that was Shipsky Racing, unfortunately in the 222, and we'll take a look at some RaceSpotTV replays now, Sommel, and you noticed an issue for Manuel Mayer, and I think this is what we're about to see.
Oh boy. Code Brown indeed.
And what a save as well there, Sommel. Let's take a look at this on board and just see the quick hands from the team boss. That
actually is some insane stuff. He'll be lucky to walk away with the minimal damage that he's actually got at this stage. That said, rear wing damage is not minimal, but it could have been far, far worse, as we see a move being made, but not cleanly.
That was the Shipsky Racing car that I said was off the track. That's what happened with the Apex Missers, and unfortunately that car finds its self-tumbling down the timing screen, we pick up the live pictures once again, and you get this great aerial shot that illustrates the gap at the front of your field. 1.5 seconds between first and second, and already Team Hoisingveldt doing what we've seen them do on a number of occasions before.
Yep, just easing off from the very beginning. And that's exactly what you need to do at this stage. There really is not a need to go too aggressive right now, but there is one school of thought that says when you see everyone around you, when everyone is so close up in the early part of the race, that is when you should gun for it, that is when you should make moves early on. But you have to control your aggression as well. You can't go full ballistic and try to make moves and do something like what happened with Shivsky Racing a minute or two ago. So yeah, initially they've got to be calm, and they are doing so at that stage.
So let's take a look in at that live championship picture. As you can see, number 14 takes the championship lead at the moment. The 56 drops to about 10 points behind, 13 points the gap. And the 78 is being brought into the equation as we head in towards the opening 10 minutes of this race. The gap for fourth and fifth as well is extended on out, so that number 55 car looking very comfortable as it holds on to that fourth position in the championship. But the top three spots really heating up as we ride on board with Boris Avando onto the back straightaway. Gap out front, Sommel, now 1.6 seconds. Not exactly sure what Team Hoisingveldt drank this morning when they woke up. Maybe a bit of spinach in the true Popeye sense, but you can see side by side further back as well. That's N-Race Esports in the BMW. Around the outside, here comes Leipert Esports, and I think Leipert Esports has just made the move happen.
Yeah, Leipert Esports have not got it done on this particular lap a bit early on, because N-Race Esports really had a bad start early on, dropped down 3 positions from the very beginning. 2, I beg your pardon. But yeah, this move seems to have happened a while ago, and for N-Race now it's just about catapulting. And in the BMW, it may seem like a car that works pretty well at this circuit, as we have seen many people give positive reviews of the same, but you've got to get it done. It may look good on paper, but it's only on you on how you actually translate it down into making it a good one in the race.
And a lot of these cars have single-filed themselves out. Oh, who's this? Pointed in the wrong direction. That's a very dangerous place for the Apex missers to be pointed in the wrong direction. And N-Race Esports at the same time has had their own issue at turn 5. What? 3 cars involved in this one. Quasar and Leipert as well. Big issues for a number of cars then, and you can see the timing tower. Even more issues there. And my oh my, let's spool this one back and take a look at the replay. Maxime Marriott seems to have been the first car caught up in this one, Sommel. And it seems like 4 cars down onto pit lane.
I love to call this place the corridor of craziness, and that is exactly what has happened on the exit of turn number 5. Cars checking up to each other. Take a look at this from the alternate angle. N-Race coming up to this blind crest. What do? Ah, that's live. Oh my, what in the world is that?
Yeah, let's take one more look at this on board with N-Race Esports. Leipert Esports launches themselves over that curb. N-Race nowhere to go. That contact was made. And who was that subsequent car that got mixed up in this as well? Keep a lookout here as Garrett Thompson tries to get out of the way. Oh, no.
Just a bad feeling.
No, it's the second BMW that gets mixed up in it. We'll spool it back one more time and take a look at it, Sobel. Unfortunate incident here, and it's Shivsky Racing involved in another incident today.
Oh, my heart aches, because what else could they have done in this case? You come up to this blind corner, and now, where do you go? Left, right? He has no sight. He literally has no sight. Oh my god. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. That is just absolutely terrible to watch. It just pains my heart. And it's through no fault of most of their drivers. It's just Leipert getting a bit loose, and unfortunately coming back in a position that really compromised everyone else.
Yeah, it was a big issue. Looks like N-Race, Leipert, Quasar, and Mayor Simspeed as well, all down onto the pit road. So 3 cars being retired from that incident. And it's kind of separated out the group of cars very much. Now the top 10 split up by about 15 seconds. And the 22 starters are now reduced to just 18 cars out on track. That was a big one. Looks like we have another car off the track as well. Who's this? Lapsat Racing Team in their Audi. David Melnarowicz, unfortunately, now finds himself trying to do a infinite point turn, as it would appear. We'll take a look at this replay, Sommel. Might not have had a helping hand. He's all by himself. He's got his teammate behind, and just loops it around.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's the Audi getting a bit frisky in slow speed corners. It's usually a mistake that you end up seeing, and it's just a case of carrying a bit too much speed. Happens usually. You can't dwell over it for far too long. Put your head down and get back on the track. That's what they'll be looking for to do at this stage.
And of course, there's still one more race, that reverse grid race. You do have to be classified to be reversed to the front of the field. So let's jump on board with Mag Performance as they hunt down the number 55. I wonder here, Sommel, what the pace from Oscar Copa really is like, because is he backing up the pack into his teammate Boris Avando, or is the pace from the 78 just that incredible that he's able to pull away? Does look as though Copa might be doing a bit of fuel saving down into the braking zone, and look at the pressure that Slacks is able to apply right now.
Pressure, man, he's all over the back end of Oscar Copa's car right now. He is sending out some message, but you're right, Arjun, it does not help in the big picture. CXR attacking as well. These guys are just fighting, and that's how good for. It may be a
and here
combination
comes
of
the
his
championship
pace.
leader. Sorry, Sommel. Avando tries to take advantage of the situation, and Paul Searles shuts the door very aggressively. Contact made. The championship leader gets mixed up in this one. Avando is going to drop out of the top 10 and has more issues coming to that car. What has happened in the last two race meetings for Boris Avando, Sommel, as once more that car involved in issues?
Yep, absolutely. This is just a bizarre one. RSR trying to force in an issue when... Oh, no, they didn't try to force in the issue. It was CXR who got loose on the curb and I think from the initial view, seemed like RSR had nowhere to go. We need to take a keen look at this once again. They were trying to get aggressive, trying to bounce on once again, as this should do. It's a big race, this. Because they back out. There was a bit of a helping hand, wasn't there? There was a bit of a helping hand.
It's going to be a tough one, and once again, I'm going to say I'm very glad I am not a race steward in this series, and I don't have to take a look at these incidents. Watch this. Watch the rearward shot from the Lamborghini. As side by side, Avando does give up the corner. It does appear as though he tries to let that Lamborghini slot in, and unfortunately, just a bit too late on the brakes and contact made. So that's unfortunately Avando, who's now going to be down in 8th position. We'll wait for our live standings to get updated by Race Control. That's powered directly from Casper de Court, so we'll wait for that to get updated, Sommel. But now, take a look at the left-hand side of your screen. You'll see these two cars, 2nd and 3rd, broken away, and now we're in this situation where the top 7 cars are separated by 18 seconds.
Yeah, they are. It's a big gap turning out to be this one. I mean, we didn't quite expect to see this at the start of the race, but the circumstances have just been so dramatic that we are at a situation like this one. But this doesn't mean that the battles are over, because Schlax is still closing up to Oscar de Copa in the second RSR car. And while the first RSR car may just have bulldozed the CXR machine, we still have the second one doing quite a good job at the very top. But the best part is about a broadcast like this one on YouTube is that we get to see opinions on the YouTube chat. So if you feel like letting us know what you felt about that accident, please do feel free to. It'll be good to know what your thoughts are, because that really, Arjuna, was rather unique on that.
It really was. Avando tries to now recover a few positions down the inside on the Apex Missers and get that position, holding off the charges from behind. We do like to interact in our YouTube chat, but we also do like to interact on social media as well. One of our recent additions to RaceSpotTV, Stefan Schlacker, who I can see is in our TeamSpeak waiting to maybe talk to us later on in today's broadcast. Unfortunately, he was competing in this series. The team has unfortunately withdrawn from the last 2 race weekends, and Solar Vision Racing and their M4 will not be taking to the track to complete the season. They did win a race almost. That's a bit of a shame, but nevertheless, Stefan has been competing in the IVRA Club Cup yesterday, and hopefully you'll be doing a little bit more of that in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it didn't quite fare out for Stefan in the Club Cup as it usually does in the GT Sprint Championship, but I think he'll be alright. Club Cup is just some really good MX-5 fun. Even if you don't end up doing quite well over there, it's just about alright. But the Apex Misses are Why are they so slow, unfortunately?
Oh, because they missed an apex and ran wide onto the grass and compromised the run all the way down into 10A. CXR Project Black's also going to get by down on the inside line. Here comes a Ferrari trying to make it 3 wide. Laps at Racing Team and Martin Hobson. What a bold opportunity he tried to spot there. Doesn't make it work, but now the 2 cars in front are slow off the corner. That Ferrari is going to try and sweep around in towards turn number 1. Great stuff here further back in the pack, and this is what the IVRA GT Sprint Series is all about, Sommel.
Exactly. Hard, fair, competitive racing. And look at them going side by side in the background over there. So I think Shipsky made a move around the outside over there. So just a lot of crazy racing that we're getting to see right here. And the best part is the sun is going down, darkness is coming up over Road Atlanta. It's going to be a fun part of the race.
And as CXR Project Black now has to fight their way up through the field, what can they do from deep in the pack? You can see this great train of cars. Roaring Chicken Nuggets appears to be up into 14th position as well, so they've disposed of 6 of that 20 pieces. Oh, CXR Project Black off into the grass in the middle of turn 6 and 7. They're able to rejoin relatively safely. They will slot in right behind those Roaring Chicken Nuggets, and we'll take a look at this replay, Sommel, because it was just a small mistake down into the braking zone.
Yeah, just not working out. It's one mistake that I've done quite often at this particular corner. It's hard to get your car lined in with the camber properly. Sliders was a mistake. There you go to the outside.
And great stuff further back in the pack right now, so we're not going to really pay too much attention to the guys out front who are very much single filing itself out. You're looking at the battle on the edge of the top 10. Shipsky Racing and Laps at Racing Team 10th and 11th respectively as we cross the start-finish line once again. 15 minutes done. The first race of the weekend. You can see a couple of cars that lost out on that last lap further behind. If you take a look on the left-hand side of your screen, though, you will see the top 3 are starting to separate out once again. Schlax has dropped off from Oscar Cooper by about 0.8 of a second there, Sommel. So at the front of your field, the championship competitors starting to lose out very slightly here. We'll take one more live look in at the live points, and you'll see the gap between the 14 and the 56 now up to an almost 30-point buffer.
Yep, absolutely. Just plays into the hands of Mac Performance right now. Team Hurstingwell are also closing that gap up right about there. So it's all shaking up, it's all chopping and changing. But for the 55, it is just really not working out for them, is it? I mean, even though they're in second place, they still are not closing up enough. Man, that round in Zandvoort really has punished them big time.
So Zandvoort was, like you say, the defining point for the 56 car. Sorry, for the 55 car. It's so confusing having 2 cars that have been at the top of the order for the entirety of the season for the most part. So we'll have to try and figure out a better way of differentiating those 2 cars. Who's that's just gone around? Ultra Brothers Esports in through turn number 3. Caleb Lavender, unfortunately, has lost it from a very, very nice podium position that he was running in. Jump on board and take a look here, Sommel, as the Audi bites back.
Yep, just the Audi being the Audi and Road Atlanta being a tricky circuit. And that part of the track, you need the utmost level of commitment, but it just goes away from you so quickly at that particular corner where there's a brine crest. And just a little bit more time on the curves than you should be spending. And that is what can happen. What's sadder is that they were in such a good position.
Yeah, it's a shame because Archer Brothers have really been one of the smaller teams that we've enjoyed seeing. And oh no! Oh no! Boris Avando further down the timing screen. What has happened for RSR by G Performance? We'll take a look at this RaceSpotTV replay as we'll wait for the live points to also get updated by Race Control. On the grass in the braking zone for turn 7, and that car is pointed in the wrong direction, Sommel.
It's the championship leader, Arjuna. It was the championship leader heading into this round. It is Boris Angelovando once again having a tricky time. And you're right, that grass, I said it once, I said it again, it is like ice, and all the drivers, they just have to be so cautious. Such an unfortunate one for Boris. You just can't put even half a wheel there, and so sadly, he has.
So down into 14th now as well. What a shame for Ovando, who's seeing these championship hopes dropping by the wayside. And Sommel, after what we saw yesterday in the IVRA Club Sports Series, where we have 2 of our 3 classes of competition separated by single digits heading into the final race weekend, what is it about IVRA competitions that they like to deliver exciting championship fights?
I mean, I wish I knew, but seriously, whatever that special ingredient is, it is paying off big time. Perhaps the fact that all the teams are just so well balanced and well matched in terms of each other, that is quite a fun part. And it just leads to battles like this one, with Quasar Sim Racing closing up for position number 4, with Team Oblivion defending as hard as they can.
Of course, Archer Brothers was at the front of this train before that spin through turn number 3, and the Canadian team of Quasar Sim Racing now tries to work up into the top 4. Another one of these teams, Sommel, that competes across the suite of IVRA competitions, and I really enjoy seeing these guys committed to a sanctioning body like IVRA, because that really is what enables Julian, Richard Bell, Casper DeCourt, Tom Stanley, the entire team to continue putting in this effort to put on events like the IVRA Triple Crown and continue growing what is a brand new organization that in its first year of competition has really seen some explosive growth.
Exactly, that has to be Team Hersingville. They've been really backing IVRA all the way through and have shown a great degree of competitiveness and commitment all the way through as well, as seen by their big lead at the moment. But while it may be all bright and rosy for the number 78 car, they also have the 77 machine that sadly backed out halfway through the season. Now, I'm not sure exactly why, and until the round at Daytona, they were having quite a good time, but at Daytona, it just did not seem to click out for them. And since then, they haven't been seen on the IVRA grid. But it's not been something that has bogged them down. It's only liberated the 78 car. And since then, Hamad Stock Hertzfeld has just been on a crazy run. I mean, both the drivers in that 78 machine have just been insane in the way they've been driving.
To correct you, it wasn't the 77. I believe it was the 48 car.
The 48, exactly.
Yes.
Slightly confusing.
No. It was just as confusing as having the 55 and the 56, and having two team cars with totally different numbers. Let's pick up a battle back on the edge of the top 10. We saw these guys dueling it out before, but Lapset Racing team, they've been passed by Shipsky Racing and now have to defend from the likes of Next Level Racing and Roaring Chicken Nuggets. Great to see them poking into the edge of the top 10 as well, Sommel.
Yeah, exactly. Roaring Chicken Nuggets may have a slightly unorthodox name, but they're doing the best that they can to fight out CXR. They might not want to do it there, though, because bad memories may come back to life.
Oh, side by side through the S's. Great respect shown by both cars, and especially by Paul Searle to back out at the right time when he realized that you can't go through the second portion of the S's like that. They don't lose too much time to the cars in front of them. And this battle rages on, turning attention back to that battle between Quasar and Team Oblivion. They've caught up to the back of Mag Performance, and late under brakes for the Lamborghini. He'll do the over-under and under the Suzuki Bridge. Quasar Sim Racing, Yoni Waters, what a move done there. And already now trying to build up a bit of a buffer to try and reel in Michael Schlacks. And another championship implication here, Sommel, is Yoni Waters has to defend. Michael Schlacks has fallen off the back of Oscar Koper to now 3 seconds with 20 minutes done in this race.
Yeah, exactly. Schlacks has just taken the backseat right now. He's relaxing, not pushing far too much, but really, I think they'll be fine. P3 is a very good place for them to be in, as long as they're not slow enough to see these two cars behind catch up to them. So far, so good for Mac Performance. They are the provisional leaders with quite a good gap.
And look at the top right, Sommel. Look at these points. Look at how they're shifting around. No longer is RSR by G Performance even in the top 2. Now it's Michael Schlacks and Team Heusingveld 1 and 2. And of course, we have one more race weekend, but this is crucial. This is about setting yourself up for what is going to be a crazy final 2 hours at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
And don't forget, Arjuna, we also have a reverse grid race today left to go, which can actually shake everything up. That's going to be so incredible to watch as well. Seriously, it just promises to be such a good finale towards the very end. And with a team like Quasar Sim Racing also on the edge of the top 3 and challenging the championship leaders in Mac Performance, you could see a whole lot of drama coming up towards the next 1.5 hours.
And we're also entering the pit stop window, and drama, we talked about pit exit and pit entry being a bit of a challenge. Let's see if we get more drama from those key points to the race. Look at this great shot down through the S's. I love these cameras. Thank you to Istvan Ballo of TrackCams 22 for providing all of the TV cameras for today's broadcast. Additional car cameras are provided by RaceSpot's own Tyler Maxson. Battle for third starts to intensify as we turn attention back to CXR Project Black and the Roaring Chicken Nuggets, because while they're on their recovery drive, Sommel, it's been a great season, I think, for CXR Project Black. I know you weren't there for that race at Donington, but that was one of my favorite memories of IVRA competitions this year. That Ford, very sterling defense by Jonathan Sterling.
Excellent wordplay. But in all seriousness, CXR have been brilliant, right? Whether it be with the old Ford or with this Lamborghini, they have made moves like this one right there on Roaring Chicken Nuggets, and their confidence has just been growing. Currently standing in P number 9 in the championship with some really good results all the way through, and the fact that they actually took the Ford, Arjuna, that just makes them extra likable. But ever since the Lamborghini has come out, they've shown some extra dose of pace, but Roaring Chicken Nuggets fight back. Oh, wow.
And that's RSR by G Performance behind them as well. The Lamborghini able to hold off the other Lamborghinis behind us. I realize there's a lot of Lamborghinis in today's race, unfortunately. A reminder as well, you can keep in touch using the hashtag IVRA League. We'd love to see a bit more information from the various teams and highlight them on the broadcast. So, pit window about to be open then, Sommel. We've 35 minutes to go, and that means the second driver is about to get into the car, and we've seen for some teams fairly equal driver lineups of, pace-wise. Some other teams have a bit more disparity, so this is always the interesting point of the weekend where we see what the next driver is going to be able to do, because they also start race number 2.
No, you're absolutely right, Arjuna. This is one thing that we see very, very greatly in the VCO Pro Sim series, where there is a great disparity between the driver lineup. Now, the good thing about IVRA competition is that that sort of thing does not exist to a great degree. But as you rightly mentioned, some teams have that slight misbalance. So it largely depends on what approach do you want to carry. Do you want your faster driver carving up the place and making all the moves early on, as we see the pit window now completely being open? Or do you want your faster driver in later on? Should be a fun thing to see how the teams balance it out.
So that was Michael Schlacks down onto pit lane, and I'll be honest, Sommel, he might have actually gone a little bit early. Reminder that the drive time does not use the race clock. Instead, it uses lap time set by drivers. And if we go one extra lap here at Road Atlanta, I wonder if Michael Schlacks' teammate is going to be in a bit of trouble. Schlacks is coming down into his pit box right now, though, followed in by Boris Evando in the 56 car. Looks like Nick Madsen getting behind the wheel of the Mag Performance 14. One of the quickest drivers we've seen in this season so far, Sommel. So that's looking good then for that number 14 car. The issue might be, like I'm saying, did they come down very slightly too early?
And the rather tricky thing is that we won't quite be able to give you an answer right here, right now, because as you mentioned, Arjuna, we can't tell. It's based on the driver clock and the average lap time. So that's going to be something for race control to have a look on. But I think they have that sort of confidence. They might have calculated that. But RSR are in 2, and it's the championship leader, 56 in the pits.
And Michael Strogbauer jumps behind the wheel, taking over from Boris Evando. We're seeing about 30 seconds for Nick Madsen in the Audi. What's it going to be for the Lamborghini? Just over 31 seconds as Michael Strogbauer will rejoin the track. Where will he come out? That's going to be the important thing. Right behind Mayor SimSpeed Performance. So we'll have to get past them, have a bit of clean air as he's already looking to the inside and through turn 3. And I think that Audi realizes that's a championship fight that he doesn't want to get involved with just now. Oh, I'm also noticing that's a car that's 9 laps down. So rather heads-up driving as you see in the background of the shot. Here comes third and fourth, Quasar and Team Oblivion Racing still doing battle. Lapsa Racing team down onto pit lane though, Sommel. Seems like pit window is open. Looks like some of these teams are going to go all the way till the end of the window.
Yep, they're going to be pushing their stuff. It probably may be the case that they've put their ace driver into the first stint and they want to maximize the number of minutes that they can get out of them. So perhaps that approach is being taken in right now.
Down the back straightaway here at Road Atlanta. And can you imagine, someone, such a historic corner is this chicane now. It's notorious for the downhill braking zone and then that uphill climb that you then plunge back downhill. Can you imagine not having this corner on the track? Because until about 1996, as you see Quasar Sim Racing down onto pit lane, that chicane wasn't there, and it wasn't until Don Panos bought this track and decided to bring it up to international racing standards that they had to slow the track down very slightly and add that chicane. So it's always interesting, the history of these great racing tracks. What we've become accustomed to as, these historic layouts often are driven by safety regulations.
No, you're right. And back in the day when we didn't have the chicane, you know which category of racing cars used to come at Road Atlanta the most? Can-Am.
I know.
Can-Am, can you believe it? Can-Am, those fast sports cars that are so hard to control and literally can race on any surface in the world, they used to come in at Road Atlanta without the chicane. I wish I could find the archive tapes in the back, because that would be some sight.
Well, the track was built in 1969. In just 3 months, the first race that was ever run here was actually a Can-Am race. So that was quite a landmark in and of itself, and we'll wait to see now if Team Hoistingveld comes down onto pit road. No, they'll stay out one more lap at least. They've got 6 minutes left on that clock, and I have a feeling they'll use every single minute of it, as Jonathan Sterling, I mentioned him just a few moments ago, does jump into the number 383, and he'll have to drive his way up through the field then. This really is a great motor racing venue, and over the years really has become known for the Petit Le Mans Sommel, and we didn't get to commentate on that iRacing special event last year because we had Radio Show Limited instead. I very much enjoyed just watching that. I was producing the broadcast, so I got to sit back and just relax and enjoy it. And my oh my, even on the virtual side of things, put 55 cars around Road Atlanta, the best sim racers in the world. It produces some of the greatest entertainment that I could have imagined spending 10 hours on a Sunday.
Exactly. Seriously, that was some race to watch out for. The Audis, if my memory serves me correct, were just pretty good out there. And seriously, something about Radio Show Limited. Yeah, you could technically say that, oh, they're our competitors, but they're not. They're just role models and icons for us to learn from, and they were so excellent. In there, it just makes for such a good race. And as we see the Hoistingveld team stay out for yet another lap, it's just a gentle reminder about how good of a circuit Road Atlanta is. It's, as I said at the top of the broadcast, it's one of those very rare circuits where you can actually have a great time while driving and still have an excellent race. It does not need to be a flat circuit with too many chicanes and 90-degree corners to have a good race on.
So pit window busy. SR by G Performance and Oscar Coper down onto lane this time around. As you see, that's that pit exit that I was talking about. The Roaring Chicken Nuggets come out right behind RSR and the number 55, right in front of CXR Project Black and Jonathan Sterling. As we'll wait then for the final 6 cars to come down onto pit lane. Reminder, live timing and scoring available at timing71.org as Roaring Chicken Nuggets get loose, and they've lost it through turn number 5. Nick Stoop has just got him behind the wheel of that car. Cold tires, unfortunately, Sommel catching out Roaring Chicken Nuggets.
Let's take a quick look at exactly what happened there once again. And turn number 5, it is just such a hard corner. I was thinking about speaking in depth of that, and this is just presenting the perfect opportunity. You're coming in blindfold, right? You have so much commitment to the mid part of the S's. You come up, you put a couple of wheels on the wrong side, and the car will go out of control, much like this one. Seriously, turn 5 is such a hard car to master. There's always this inclination of pushing a bit too harder, going a bit too wide, trying to maximize your space. Do it a little bit too much, this is what happens. Wait, hold on a minute.
Yep, you just noticed the same thing that I have, Sommel. What's happened to the front end of Team Oblivion Racing and their Lamborghini? They're down onto the pit lane this time around, but Thomas Cope has had a big moment at some point here, and I don't know exactly when it's happened, Sommel.
Yeah, but I'm actually quite baffled. Team Oblivion Racing were right out there in the top 5. Where has this happened for them?
They were running by themselves for the last few laps, so we'll try and pick up what's happened to that car. I see Matt Loveridge is now jumping in. I'm not seeing any incidents on my timing screen for that car at all, so it might have been contact with another car. Maybe lap traffic plays a factor there. It's the battle for 12th and 13th. There's the final 2 cars yet to come down pit road are the number 78 and the Lapsert Racing Team number 11, that Audi that we saw spinning earlier on. Everyone else has come down the pit lane. That Ferrari looks to the inside, thinks better of it, as here comes your race leader finally down onto the pit road. He's got a very commanding lead behind him. And if you filter your way through the rest of your field, Team Oblivion Racing, despite that damage, Sommel, have filtered their way out 1 second behind Nick Madsen. And we'll see now exactly what performance the 64 car still has.
Yep, I'll be keeping a keen eye on their lap times to see how they are comparing. But really a bizarre one to see Team Oblivion Racing with a damaged front hood. Might be perhaps them getting into the wall somewhere, but it's an absurd one, this.
Well, if they had gone into a wall, I'm pretty sure I would see that incident on my timing screen, so...
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's happened there. Max Riedmuller, by the way, has jumped behind the wheel of the number 78, and he's about to get his way out of pit road as these guys come down in through that chicane. Here comes second place, net second place, around the final corner. A very, very short stop there for Max Riedmuller, just 21 seconds. As compared to 31 seconds for Jan Nosek. So that was a big delta there. I wonder if some of these cars took tires, and maybe Max Riedmuller, seeing these late conditions and relatively cool track temperatures, Sommel, has elected to not do that.
Yeah, that was one thing that was discussed early on in the championship about certain teams trying to put in fresh tires and adding a little bit of a fuel load. That aside, though, the racing here, goodness me.
And that was Michael Strogbauer up into 11th in that championship fight. So trying to rebound into the top 10. In fact, now up into 10th. So that fight back continues, Sommel. Live look in at the championship picture. The 56 has recovered to just 2 points behind the 78. But it's getting tight now for the top 3.
It is getting rather tight for the top 3. Only 2 points separating the 56 RSR car and the Team Hursinwell machine, who we thought that initially these two would be the 2 of the 3 top competitors to fight for the championship, with the 55 RSR car being the 3rd one. But what a comeback it has been from Mac Performance. Their consistency has just got them to the top of the table for now. Could be a fun last 3 races coming up, with the second reverse grid one coming right after this one. And RSR, the number 55 car, making a bit of a comeback right here. The 56, I beg your pardon.
So I'm taking a look at those pit stop times again. The time in the lane was about the same for the top 2 cars, so maybe just Riedmuller's pit stop time is a little bit wrong on my screen, as Strogbauer down the inside, now up into 9th position I'm seeing on the timing screen. So these championship points are coming back to the number 56. They'll need a few more in this race number 1 to set them up for race number 2 as well. What we are going to see, I think, in race number 2, Sommel, is desperation. The likes of Mag Performance, the likes of Hoisingveld. They're going to have to get through the field early on and not afford to lose too much time early in the race.
Yeah, exactly. That's when everyone will all be bunched up together, which presents them their ultimate opportunity. When everyone's close by, they don't have to work too hard. They just have to make up positions and not make up a lot of time. Plays out in their hands. But take a keen eye on how the 56 RSR car has been handling. They consistently, Arjuna, have been facing trouble at turn number 5, getting a bit high-sided over there, losing control. And it's just a characteristic that I've noticed that the RSR cars have faced throughout early on. It's perhaps just a sign of them going on the aggressive and realizing that this is the ultimatum. They have to drive extremely fast, and for that, they've got to be extremely aggressive.
We're going to try and spool things back to take a look at a RaceSpotTV replay, getting word from Race Control that we saw Quasar Sim Racing and Yoni Waters with that spectacular move on Team Oblivion Racing. It looks as though that when this car came down onto pit lane, there may have been a small issue. And let's spool it back and take a look at this, Sommel. See this pit entry from Yoni Waters on board. Small mistake, and that's a big mistake. Hard into the wall on both sides of the pit entry, and that's going to be damage then for that number 26 car.
Now that is exactly what we spoke about at the top of the broadcast, Arjuna. Commitment towards the pit lane. It is so easy to forget about that quick chicane over there, and as racing drivers, you don't want to lose speed. Well, it's better to lose speed more consistently than hit a wall and then do that.
So that was the issue for the 26. That's why they've dropped to 6th on track. 22 minutes left to work in this race. Turn our attention back to the Ferrari and the McLarens. We don't usually see these cars at the front in IVRA competitions too much, other than Altitude Esports, of course, but The Ferrari for the Awesome Motorsports Group applies the pressure to the fire-breathing McLaren in front.
Wait,
And
wait, there's something wrong, Arjuna. So sorry. That I just see AMG written on a Ferrari. That just does not bode well. My eyes can't adapt to it quite well.
well, I think if you remember that AMG stands for the Awesome Motorsports Group, maybe it's acceptable, but I think you're right. It's a German Ferrari that says AMG on it. Something is afoot, that's for sure.
Perhaps there is an imposter among us. Sorry, that was a very, very mainstream joke, that one. Probably not one of my taste.
Who's the driver behind the wheel of the 72? Henrik Lala. Sus. I think we're going to have to see what we can do about the number 72 next time we head to the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And unfortunately, Samuel, I've not really mentioned it so far. 20 minutes left in this one. Unfortunately, that final race of the season conflicts with the BMW Sim GT Cup. So, unfortunately, one of us will be missing that finale. And unfortunately, we're going to miss some great racing. You see here, this is 15th and 16th. They're side by side in towards turn 3, fighting it out. So, I'm a little bit disappointed that one of us won't be there, but I'm sure the other one is going to have a great time.
I mean, both of us are any which ways. I mean, BMW Sim GT Cup, some of the best sim racing drivers in the world competing at the very top level and racing in a program that is designed by a manufacturer. That is excellent. But this as well. It reminds me of that Jeremy Clarkson meme, doesn't it? Of the Ukraine special. They say, this is brilliant, but I like this better. Only thing is we can't choose between either one of them. Just too hard.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to have to pick, or fortunately, I guess. That choice will be made for us. Here comes the number 56 to the inside of Shipsky Racing, and they'll promote themselves up into the 8th position, working on reclawing some championship points. They now have a 3.5 second gap to the Apex missers in front, and they'll be hoping the 186 misses a few Apex over the final third of this race so they can get even more championship points. 2 seconds further down the road to the Quasar Sim Racing number 26 car. That's been rather slow the last few laps. We'll take a look at the lap chart for this car, Sommel, and unfortunately it looks as though since that incident the lap times have really started to tail off for this car.
Yeah, it's not quite going well for Quasar Sim Racing in terms of lap times after that incident that they had. The others are clocking in at 118s, 190. I mean, 118s is only Hörsenwil and Max Riedmuller. Max has been phenomenal so far in the stint, but all the other drivers in the 119s, and for Quasar it's been around, what, 120s for Aaron Ackles right now, so clearly that damage is putting them off a little bit. But coming back to lap times, Arjuna, only 2 drivers who are in the 118s. Take a guess. Which 2 drivers do you think it may be? It's not going to be a big surprise.
It's not going to be hard for me at all. I won't even look at my timing screen. Max Riedmuller and Michael Strogbauer.
Now, it's actually not Strogbauer, it's actually Nick Madsen, who's right there in the 18s as well. And a good reminder of exactly what Madsen can do, which is what exactly we saw in Zandvoort as well. So these 2 guys are literally around 0.4 of a second faster than anyone else.
Well, and I think that gap between Jan Nosek and Nick Madsen has started to come down. It's now 3.1 seconds, and like you say, Madsen is the quicker driver. Not trying to be unfair here, Samuel, because Schlax is very quick as well, but Madsen might be very, very slightly quicker, maybe slightly more consistent. That's maybe what it is, but he is reeling in Jan Nosek out in front. They may be looking at grabbing that second step of the podium. Let's take a look in at that live point situation from race control as we cross the start-finish line once again. You'll see the 56 here, Sommel, starting to creep back towards the front.
Exactly, 56 is making a bit of a comeback after that big incident, and Strogbauer has to do this. He has to go on the aggressive, and he has done. He has responded quite well, clocking in lap times in the lower mid-19s. But seriously, Arjuna, one driver who's actually driving faster than him, and it's excellent to see this, is Samuel Robson for Archer Brothers. After that incident too, Archer Brothers have been excellent in the way they've been responding to their pace. Such a satisfying thing to see. But now, Strogbauer with a 118.8, he has entered that club as well.
See, I told you, maybe I was just predicting the future, but nevertheless, 3 cars then in the 118s, 17 minutes still to work here. Awesome Motorsport Group have managed to close on the back of that McLaren once again, side by side across the line, down into turn 1. They're getting feisty. The Ferrari gets the move done, An over-under attempted from .exe. It's a bit brave. I don't think they're going to try it. And the Ferrari, after about 4 laps, finally gets the move done. And now already, it's a 7/10 of a second advantage, and will try and run away in the AMG-powered Ferrari, as I'm now going to refer to it as. We'll turn attention back to second and third, though. I talked about that gap coming down, Sommel. It's now under 3 seconds for the first time since Madsen has gotten behind the wheel of the car. Might be a little bit too little too late to be able to reel in Jan Nosek, but nevertheless, it's going to be interesting. Reed Muller and Madsen working their way through the field at the start of race number 2. It does look as though, by the way, the 199 car, the N-Race Esports BMW, will be starting on the reverse grid pole. They are 13 laps down, and from what I'm hearing from race control, that should put them on pole position.
Now, isn't that good to see if you're an N-Race Esports supporter? This is going to be huge to help them out in terms of their fight for the top 5 in the championship. And they had a bit of a chaotic race number 1, let's not lie about it, but this just helps them capitalize and really bounce back from a rather chaotic one early on. But in this battle between Jan Nosek and Nick Madsen, Arjuna, it's interesting. Jan Nosek has also been responding to the pressure pretty well. He's slightly slower than Nick Madsen as it stands, but he's created enough of a gap, and he's making sure that he holds it on pretty well. So Nosek also for RSR doing a pretty good job in P number 2, but even if they get P3, I'm not sure that Mac Performance will be too disappointed. That I think is better. You know, they don't have to pass Helsingwell and RSR 55 in the next race. What more could you ask for?
On board with Nick Madsen. Take a look on the left-hand side, by the way, here. You'll see that chicane that exists. That doesn't exist in the real world anymore. It was constructed in 2008 as the circuit tried to attract motorcycles in greater numbers to come and compete here, but the riders didn't actually like that for racing, so it was never used in anger, and when the track was reworked in 2017, it was paved over and removed, and now only exists on the iRacing service. Great shots of the sky, Scommel. I know you were reacting to that. I just wanted to get my stat fact out right now. Some people like to say iRacing doesn't look very good. I like to say iRacing looks very, very good on a broadcast.
Seriously, that was so good. And also, interesting fact that you mentioned there. I always used to wonder which championship actually uses that second chicane, but clearly nobody does. And I wonder why it actually is there. But yeah, it's interesting. It's good to see it still exists in iRacing. Much like a gentle reminder of a good time in the past. I mean, that said, a good time is still going to come for Road Atlanta. It's never a bad time for them. It's always an excellent racetrack, if you get what I mean. But still, good racing happening in the midfield right here. And RSR, well, they've just made their way up. Stoke Bar has passed these two guys right now.
Yeah, Apex.
Quasar is falling back.
Apex Misses has just gotten past that Quasar car that's suffering from that heavy damage from that pit entry. Strogbauer up into 6th, and that's crucial from that championship perspective. I do wonder, Sommel, there is live race control. They tend to look at incidents after the race. We did see that number 56 car involved in a big issue with that 383 car, and I have a feeling that both teams will be summoned to the steward's office after the race, and you can see the lights flashing for Shipsky Racing right now. A little bit of frustration, I'm sure, on both sides of that equation.
Exactly, it's just a bit... For racing drivers, this is a situation where they have to keep their composure when you know that things aren't going on your side. How do you make sure that you still stay clean? Oh, no, that is not how you stay clean, unfortunately. Big incident there for Quasar.
Oh, and it gets worse as Ackles had managed to keep it on the right-hand side of the track for now. Here comes Team Vikings as they jink around trying to find the right line to take. The 199 as well gets on pass. We'll scroll it back, take a look at the issue. It's another case of a car running wide over turn 5, getting unsettled over the bumps, and then look at this. He almost saves it, Sommel, but that final snap to the left, that's going to drop, unfortunately, Aaron Ackles down the order. They were running up in 4th at one point.
he'll be feeling so sad about this one. Just a big opportunity lost. What could have been for Quasar Sim Racing? That's going to be the question, but they can't dwell about it too much. Have to put their head down and bounce back with a good one, which I'm sure they will do. But the right word that you used there, Arjuna, it's an excellent choice of words. Unsettled. Look at how much the car gets unsettled at turn number 5 at the curbs. Look at this one. It really bottoms out, and there's not much you can do about it except for clench onto your steering wheel a bit harder, or if you expect the impact to be big, just leave it.
Yeah, and you can actually see there, once that weight transfer happened, the steering wheel was already kind of angled in such a way that the car kind of saved itself, and that subsequent impact was not really avoidable. Looking at this live pictures and this gap for second, though, is, in fact, there's been another issue. Who's that now? Apex Missers is maybe down my timing screen. Oh no, that's N-Race Esports. What's happened? Oh no, turn 5 once again. And the car that we expected to be starting on the reverse grid pole might have just gotten mixed up in this, Sommel.
Yeah, they still get pole for reverse grid 1, but see again, Arjuna, the word that he used, unsettled. Yet again, it's a second. Oh my god, that was close, wasn't it? They just got reversed it back just about in time. Had they not reversed it slightly, we might have seen an even bigger pile-up. But coming back to the original incident, got on the curbs, the car bottomed out, and there they were in the gravel trap. But this is the key part. As we can see, somewhat slightly over the crest, they just and only just avoided the two cars right there. That would have been too bad.
Yeah, that would have been really dramatic. And that's the Roaring Chicken Nuggets. They had an 11-minute repair earlier on. Doesn't appear as though they were able to get all the damage fixed on that car. We're now tracking, though, the battle for second as the Chicken Nuggets pull to the side of the road. Looks like the Deep Fryer has really sent them through the ringer. Sorry, I just had to throw that one in, as the Chicken Nuggets will have to pull to the side of the track. 2 seconds is the gap, though, Sommel, between second and third here. I said that Madsen might not be able to get this close enough. He's trying to prove me wrong. 1.9 seconds. He might be in with a shout, you know.
I'll need a second to recover from that one, but coming back, yes, he could be in with a shout, to be honest. He is closing up. The interval gap is only around 1.6 seconds, and when you cast your mind back to a couple of laps ago, it was around 3, and it's cutting down to around a 10th a lap. Or maybe 10th a sector, it seems, at this stage. So clearly, there is some pace in Madsen setting in an overall best, a 118.497. Well, where's the momentum, you ask? Right here.
And this car's got the fastest lap, a 118.498, fastest on the day so far. He almost gained half a second just between the start-finish line and turn number 5. Slightly loose on the exit of turn 5, so unfortunate there. Checked up his momentum slightly, but 9 minutes to go. I would estimate that we're looking at 6 laps to go then, as probably 7 laps actually, because of the lead that Max Riedmuller has managed to build up. 11 seconds between first and second. We'll plunge down the hill to complete one more flying lap right now, and Nick Madsen 1.7 seconds back, losing time down the straightaway, gains it through this first sector on the track. So about 0.3 of a second last time around, Sommel. It's going to come all the way down to the wire.
Absolutely. This is when the drivers are liberated, when they don't have to think about anything else. In the final part of the race, they can just completely go out there and send it. This is where things get really interesting. But I hate to spoil it. I hate to be the one who has to say it, but someone has to say it, right? I don't think that Mac Performance should go for that move. I think they'll be better off by not passing RSR Esports and instead starting ahead of them in race number 2. And yes, you might call me the ultimate race excitement killer, but in the bigger picture, that's the better thing to do.
Oh, I'm taking a look at these live points, and I don't know what I would do in these situations. Look at these gaps as they get ever tighter. The 56 car now up into 6th position. That's the most he'll get from this race number 1. He'll potentially lose some points, of course, due to a post-race penalty that might be coming down from that contact with the 383, but the live points differential now down to 21 points at the front of your field. The gap between second and third down to 1.5 seconds. We cross the line one more time, 7.5 minutes left to go, and I'm trying to remind myself, Sommel. Still got one more race to go here today. We're not done. It's been a great opening race. And like I said yesterday, we've got 5 different races and IVRA competitions in 2 days. This is what I love about broadcasting these series. Before I hand it over to you, though, what's just happened to Team Oblivion Racing? That's a big issue, and that's on the start-finish line as well.
And that is a team in the top 5. Team Oblivion, such a good run early on. And it's the grass yet again, Arjuna. They just clobber into the wall. And yes, that expression is absolutely justified. I am... Oh my god, what can I say about this one?
We'll get a good look here, I think, Sommel, on this off-board shot on the left side. 2 tires onto the grass and... Oh, he embeds himself in the wall for just a moment's time. And Matt Loveridge now out of the race. He's had to tow himself back down onto the pit road. And unfortunately, that promotes Archer Brothers up into 4th. Or fortunately promotes Archer Brothers up into 4th and the RSR team up into 5th. But unfortunately then for Team Oblivion Racing, who are staring down the barrel of a very impressive 4th place finish, they'll now have to regroup, and they'll probably start on row number 2 in our reverse grid race, Sommel. They'll have to dust themselves off and really get back for that next race.
That'll hurt. This one will hurt. This is just such a sad one to see. And it's just the commitment that you carry into the final corner. You can be undercommitted, you can lift off and lose too much time. You can be committed, exactly. You can have your full throttle coming in, but just slightly too much. And that is what happened. Such a sad one to see this.
Well, the net result, Sommel, take a look at the right side of the screen and the live point situation. 1 position has now meant that gap's gone from 21 points to 7. The number 56 car has got a nice big smile on its face once again after a very disappointing start to the race. The number 55 car, though, will have to hold on. And now, Sommel, does this situation change if you're Nick Madsen? Do you start feeling a little bit more pressure to get the move done?
No. Because, I mean, let's look at it objectively. You gain 9 more points if you move up from B number 3 to B number 2, don't you? I think so. Not completely sure. I'll quickly check once again. If you do that, you gain those extra 9 points, but think of it, you have to pass the 55 car in the race. I mean, my performance, they might be the fastest, but that's not something that anyone would be relishing. That's not something that any team would be looking forward to, so might as well stay behind, keep the points that you're getting, and look for a bigger one, because then you can build on the bigger gaps in race number 2. Instead of having to pass these guys.
It looks like it's a 10-point differential.
10-point difference.
I'm not sure, Sommel. I'm personally always of the opinion of get the points while you can, and especially in these reverse grid races which have been so chaotic at times. We saw that stack up through turn 5 in this race. Imagine what it's going to be like in the reverse grid race. So I would very much in the shoes of Nick Madsen want to get this move done and want to get it done as soon as possible. 4 minutes left on the clock, so looks like 3 laps to go then. I think I was about on track when I said 7 to go a few moments ago. Deep under brakes from Madsen. Oh, just about able to slow that down, and Nosek might have had his heart in his mouth for a few moments' time, though. I think it's clear, though, here, Sommel, Madsen doesn't share your opinion.
Yep, the good thing is he is decisive and he's just getting so risky. Nick has to avoid that. I mean, we saw exactly that with Team Oblivion. You put 1 or 2 wheels on the grass there, could be far, far worse. Got unlucky this time out, and this comes to a situation where at the S's you have to avoid getting your nose chopped off. Judgments are going to be so critical here because there's so many racing lines to a few corners where you can't put your nose in up ahead, but the car defending can chop your nose off, and both the parties will be involved in the bad incident. Now then, Madsen has the run, has the momentum. Seems like at the exit of the next corner, he'll be right there.
He's going to set up turn number 7. He compromises Nosek through 6. Oh, Nosek parks it on the apex and once again parks it on the apex of turn 7. Can this Audi get the power down out of this final corner? It's Audi versus Lamborghini. Car in front has a tiny bit of draft from the apex misses lapped car in front, but it's going to be down into the braking zone. Who's going to be bolder under brakes? That car moves all the way to the left-hand side. Madsen tries to go to the inside. He gets covered off by Nosek. Great defensive driving here, and great respect being shown as well. Look at the move, though, from Madsen. He's right on the rear bumper. Slight contact between the two of them. So we plunge down the hill. Across the start-finish line will go. Move might be coming into turn one, except, unfortunately, Madsen off onto the grass. He hangs onto it, Sommel. He has to re-rack and regroup one more time.
That is the Ken Block Racing line across Road Atlanta, past the S's, and still Arjuna. The raw pace on the Mac Performance car is so great that even though he went on the grass, he still is right within a tenth behind him.
Lap traffic, though. Lap traffic. That McLaren is going to check them up. Can this Audi try and power down out of turn number 5 and surprise the Lamborghini? Look at this great onboard shot from the roof cam. So unfortunately, that McLaren holds its line and compromises Nosek. Nosek forces the issue here. That will check him up out of turn 6. Watch this, Sommel. Watch as the Audi runs wide, uses all the track, and now gets the power down. And it's a drag race all the way down to turn 10A and 10B. I think this Audi's going to get it done. Take a look at this aerial coverage.
Smart. That was smart there by Nick Madsen. Took the sharper line there into turn number 8. Gets the run almost side-by-side action for P number 2. And it is RSR who still keep on. But Madsen has only a minute more to do what he has to do.
And I think it will be 2 laps to go. Potentially white flag in the air. We'll wait and see. We stick on this battle. Over-under from Madsen. Here comes the block from Nosek all the way to the inside as they dive into turn number 1. Madsen has to go very slow to make the corner, and Nosek with the momentum around the outside holds on. Behind them as well, it's Lamborghini versus McLaren on the edge of the top 10. Absolutely insane stuff, as I think this is the white flag lap, Sommel. One more opportunity then for Nick Madsen to get into second.
He has to line it up. It has to be on the exit of turn number 8. This is the opportunity. Past the corridor of craziness. Comes in through. This is going to be critical. Last time out, he got his entry line perfect. What about this time out, Arjuna?
Max Riedmuller is making his way down into turn 10, so this will be the white flag out of turn number 7. Great run for that Audi. A little bit of draft from the Audi in front as well, but it's going to be Riedmuller coming across the line in just a few moments' time. Take a look at him down the hill. Checkered flag will wave for Max Riedmuller, but championship battle side by side down in towards the chicane. Around the outside for Nick Madsen. Can he make this work? They're going to continue side by side down the hill, but I think that Lamborghini will have the momentum. It's going to be RSR by G Performance second, Nick Madsen in third. What a race number 1 we had here, Sommel. Again, we get to do this with a reverse grid race, and 60 minutes more of this. I cannot wait to get underway.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. That is how you end a race. Well, at least it wasn't for a lack of trying for Nick Madsen. He did everything. Went on outrageous lines, made crazy lunges, adjusted his racing line all the way to the end. This was incredible. In the end, though, Max Riedmuller, he may not have been the most popular character on the screen throughout the race, but he has got the job done. Team Hursinwell are on the victory lane.
And let's take a look in at our live championship points powered by Race Control. 7 points the difference between first and second. Number 78 finds themselves in the hunt, just under 50 points behind your championship leader. 3 races to go. A maximum of 600 points are on offer. And it's Max Riedmuller taking the win then here at Road Atlanta as we go down and the sun continues to drop below the horizon. I believe the next race will be under morning conditions, so we will have a bit of a different atmosphere, Sommel, but nevertheless, I have a feeling the racing action will be just as intense as this one.
You don't even have to predict that. It's Road Atlanta, Arjuna. It's a given. When you put GT3 cars at Road Atlanta, especially these guys, it is going to be a good race. And then, as if that wasn't enough, you take that and you add a reverse red element to it. I mean, what more could you ask for? That's the ultimate recipe for some pandemonium initially, but some good, hard competitive racing with the championship in sight towards the very end.
And I'm loving this live points that we have, so thanks to Race Control for helping out on that. Take a look at the race results after race number 1. 45 laps, but Max Riedmuller led basically every single moment of the race. 15 seconds clear of Jan Nosek and the RSR Lamborghini, with Nick Madsen rounding out the podium, just 0.3 of a second between second and third. Impressive drive for Archer Brothers and Samuel Robson to get up into fourth spot. Michael Strogbauer recovers in the championship leading car to come home in fifth. The Apex Mishers in sixth. Neil Butler for Lapset Racing Team in that Ferrari comes home in seventh. Shipsky Racing Team Vikings, and then CXR Project Black, who recovers to the edge of the top 10. Final car who finishes on the lead lap is that awesome Motorsports Group Ferrari, with Next Level Racing, Quasar Sim Racing, Lapset Racing Team, .exe Esports, and the Apex Mishers all rounding up one lap down. Matt Loveridge, we saw Team Oblivion Racing falling off from that impressive fourth place showing. They will start towards the front of the reverse grid race, as will Mayor SimSpeed Performance. Unsure as to whether N-Race Esports will be included in the reverse grid, but we do know Nick Stoop will be starting at the tail end of race number 2, as will Garrett Thompson and Marlon Dusheks for Lightbird Esports White. So that was race number 1, Sommel. Still got one to go. Hopefully we'll get the opportunity to talk to some of those competitors, especially Max Riedmuller, because I want to understand exactly what the strategy is now to go all the way from the back to the front. You are clearly the fastest car on the track. What can he do now to try and keep it clean in the first 10 minutes of the race?
So I know a few techniques. You can knock on some wood, you can keep your fingers crossed, you can be aware, you can nothing else, I guess. Just try to be the best of your abilities and hopefully just hope that luck is on your side, because seriously, a lot of that can come down to luck and just being at the right place at the right time. But it's what they say, right? Champions make their own luck. They be at the right place at the right time. For Team Hurstingwell, that seemed to be the case in this one, the very first round.
And we'll just continue talking for a few moments while we wait to see if any of the competitors join us for post-race interviews, because I do very much want to talk to them. But race number 2 a few moments away, but again, I think now, Sobel, this live point situation is making this so much more interesting. You saw yesterday in the Club Sports Series, we were confused, befuddled, trying to figure out what the situation is. This time, it's much clearer, much more obvious, and again, thank you to Race Control for working with us, because it's going to be nice in this race number 2 now, as those gaps continue to shrink, to be able to watch them come down.
Yeah, seriously, it's going to be so much fun, right? Because on its own, the racing is pretty good. But when you add that element of the championship to it, it just adds some extra context, adds some extra emotion to the battle. And all the great sporting stories, be it sports or esports, I mean, seriously, that's a debate for some other day. But it's so good to see the drivers fighting and knowing and understanding exactly what is at stake, and that just makes the battles even more spicy.
So let's start talking to some of our post-race interviews. We've got your race winner for Team Hoistingveld, Mats Hutzfeldt. He's standing by with Sommel Aurora.
Mats, seriously, mate, many congratulations on the win. Yet another one for you guys. But that first win, mate, how good was that? You were excellent out there.
Thank you, first of all. Yeah, the first stint was really clean, consistent laps, and I think the other guys had some trouble at the back, and so we could put out a nice gap and could control it until the last lap.
Mats, this one was still a lot more comfortable, at least it looked like it. Surely must be much more difficult for you, but in race number 2, you're going to be at the very back of the grid. What strategy do you have in mind? Because it's a smaller grid, but still many cars to pass.
Yeah, I think we will be right in the middle of the pack, because there were some retirements in this race. Yeah, I think it will be really difficult to get through the pack, and yeah, maybe a bit of a lottery like last race in Zandvoort. But I think Max will do a great job out there.
Well, hopefully that is the case. And Mats, who would you like to give a shout out to for this big win that you have in race 1, which is making your championship standings look even better?
Yeah, a shout out to Hoisingfeld, to the team. Yeah, we have some really good guys out there who are working on the setup and all of that, and yeah, this makes this effort possible.
Well, Mats, real pleasure having you on. All the very best for race number 2, mate. Excellent job in this one. Well done.
Thank you.
So that was Mats Hudsfeld for Team Hoisingveld, and now we're joined by the driver pairing of Nick Madsen and Michael Schlacks for Mag Performance Sim Racing. They're standing by with Samuel Aurora.
Who do I begin with first? Actually, Nick, I'll start with you. Excellent job. Congratulations on P number 3, but that got so frightening towards the end, didn't it?
Yeah, that was really nerve-wracking. I really tried my best to close the points gap advantage that Hoisingveld will have from P1, but in the end I'm quite happy with P3 and the championship points. The lead, yeah, I'm really happy.
And Michael, it really must be helping you out, right? Because you don't have to pass Hoisingveld and RSR now for race number 2, which is a big plus.
Well, I don't know. Really don't know. I only know that the race was. Yeah, Nick did an awesome job, but I had a little problem with the pace during the second part of my stint, and yeah, the second race will be very hard as the field is quite close. A lot of cars are fast out there, and yeah, the track is very tricky. So let's see what happens.
Hopefully it's good. And Nick, I've got a question for you. How are you guys so consistent? You haven't won a race so far, but you still have accumulated so many points and now provisionally lead the championship. How do you get it done?
We put a lot of work into it. Me and Michael, we really good combination of an Italian guy and a Danish guy. Yeah, put in a lot of practice hours, and the strategy is the most important thing in this series. And yeah, we had some tough races in the beginning of the year, getting penalized on Silverstone for a P1, and got a big penalty also on Donington. So we tried to fight back to the championship lead as the best as we can.
You guys are doing an excellent job so far. Nick, Michael, all the very best for the next race. And who would you like to give a shout out to before we let it go?
The team Make Performance, Augusto Kakiyami and Matteo Calestani. Augusto put a lot of practice hours into this race also to develop a good setup, and we're really happy with that.
Yeah, thank you very much for to our team and our teammates that help us every time and give us support. Thank you, guys.
Good to see this teamwork and team spirit right on show. All the very best for the next race, guys. Guys. Have a good one. All the best.
Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.
So, Nick Madsen, Michael Schlacks. Interesting there, Samuel. I think they agreed a bit more with my strategy for the points battle here. Go for every point you can and figure out race number 2 when you get to it.
See, there's a reason why I'm up here, right, at the end of the day. I can't drive or even strategize just about as good as them, but they seem to know what they're doing, and it's paying off.
We'll take a look at the schedule very quickly. One race done today on February the 7th. One race still to go, and we'll finish up our season in 1 month's time with another doubleheader weekend of IVRA Club Sport and IVRA GT Sprint action. That's going to be a busy weekend. The Saturday we'll have the 6 hours of Sebring, as well as 2 30-minute sprint races in the IVRA Club Cup, and then, of course, on Sunday, 2 60-minute sprint races to decide our champion. We'll take one final look at these championship points as well. The live look-in, 7 points between first and second. An additional about 35 points back to the number 78 car. But I think the story here, Samuel, is it really is now a 3-team fight, and it's anyone's game heading into these final 3 races.
Yeah, exactly. So much could go right, so much could go wrong. I think they only have to take it race by race. They can't look too long-term at this stage, as it always is the case with IVRA competition. So I think in the end, they just have to keep their calm, and really, that's a bit of an underrated factor in races that are so hectic as this one.
We're going to take a short break then here on RaceSpotTV. We'll be right back with round 10 in the IVRA GT Sprint Series. Don't go anywhere for continued coverage on RaceSpotTV. Welcome back to the IVRA GT Sprint Series as we get ready for our reverse grid race, as we've got 3 races left before we crown our inaugural IVRA GT Sprint champion. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Welcome back to RaceSpotTV, where I'm joined by Sommel Aurora for the next hour of action, because Sommel, 1 race to go, and then will be 1 race weekend left before we determine our inaugural champion. It's an exciting time here in IVRA competition, not just because we're about to crown a champion, but because we've also got the brand new schedule for next year that's been confirmed as well. Additionally, the IVRA Triple Crown. We'll talk about that very quickly right now under qualifying conditions, because this brand new series that the IVRA sanctioning body is putting on looks to challenge drivers across 3 different legendary racetracks, across 3 different classes of competition. It's going to be an exciting way for this sanctioning body to continue growing in its second year of action, but ultimately, 24-hour races, we love them at RaceSpot, and you can watch them live and uninterrupted on RaceSpotTV.
100% Arjuna. The best part is that it's going to be across disciplines. In one race, you've got to be driving GT3s. Then you can choose between the other 3 categories. And for the final one at Sebring, you choose whatever you want to drive. It's not just one car that you're sticking to. Different cars, different philosophies of design, different challenges, and more importantly, Arjuna, 24 hours at 3 completely unique circuits, and 3 rather iconic ones, not just on the iRacing service, but in the entire world of motorsport. Seriously, the kind of euphoria that I was feeling yesterday when I was revealed this surprise, one of the very rare moments, seriously. I can't wait to see how this one pans out.
And as was mentioned, $13,000 in prize money on offer. It'll be a great way for us to kick off a new year of competition, because it's not just the IVRA Triple Crown series that we'll be covering here live on RaceSpotTV, but of course, all 4 competitions return once again. And you can see here the GT Sprint series is going to get expanded, Sommel. We go from just, 6 race weekends and 12 races to 12 different tracks across 2 different seasons. It's been a great ride this year so far, and I can't wait to do it all over again in the winter.
Seriously, it's going to be so much fun. And the track that I'm most looking forward to for this one, it's not Charlotte. Spoiler alert, I don't like Charlotte. Long story short. Hungaroring, think of it. It's such a unique circuit, and many people say that they're not a big fan of the Hungaroring. That's mostly because they've only watched Formula 1 races at Hungaroring. Take a look at GT3 races there, or TCR races over there. It's a brilliant track on its own, and seriously, GT Sprint action at Hungaroring, where there's so much excitement and so much urgency in the way the drivers drive, I think it should make for an intense competition right there.
So, qualifying underway then as we take a look in at this live schedule, at the schedule rather. Take a look at the live lap times in a few moments' time as they organize themselves for this reverse grid race. But, like we say, exciting stuff on the horizon. That was not the 2020-2021 schedule as it said. Instead, I'm trying to forget that 2020 even happened, and as a result, we'll look forward to 2021 and 2022. Let's take a live look in as you see the cars waiting to set their times to be included in the reverse grid. Take a look at the track conditions, Sommel, because we raced into the twilight in race number 1. This time we're racing in the morning, 8 a.m. in virtual Brazelton, Georgia. And that means 18 degrees air temperature and a very cold 18 degrees track temperature.
I mean, yeah, the thought of 18 degrees really scares someone who lives in 32 degrees normally. But, yeah, jokes aside, it should be incredible to see the kind of grip that these drivers will be facing right now. But along with grip, there's also the side effect of slightly more fog. So perhaps their apexes may be slightly more dusty or slightly less visible, but this shouldn't be an issue, right, for them. They've practiced so much, they've put in so many hours worth of practice in, and they know exactly what they're doing. But that, combined with reverse grids, I think it should be just a very, very crazy race right now.
And we've got 3 minutes left in qualifying before we'll roll it on over into the race. Stefan Schlacker says 18 degrees Celsius. That's shorts weather. No.
Come to Mumbai, mate.
Yeah, come to Singapore as well, I'll tell you that. As residents of the subcontinent, I didn't spend too much time there. I can confirm 18 degrees Celsius is definitely not shorts weather. I had to move out of Atlanta, which was a bit of a shame because I couldn't deal with even a dusting of snow once in a while. So there you go. I mean, 18 degrees shorts weather, no chance. I'm bundled up in several layers of clothes, and I'm pretty sure it's 4 degrees Celsius outside right now. Not looking forward to go walking my dog right after this, Sobel.
Well, what can I say? Seriously. I'm looking for the right word, but I can't seem to find it. But it won't matter to the drivers. They won't be feeling the cold, but their tires will be, right? The advantage of this one is that they'll be having a little more grip. And seriously, Arjuna, the more grip that you can find, the better it is going to be for these guys. Because on the track, otherwise, it's just going to be too frisky for them. Quite a few top teams in the back or the middle of the grid having to make up positions, they need that sense of certainty. And if you're a defending team who have lined up on pole or maybe in the top 5, you're going to be taking as much as you possibly can here.
You can take a look at the order on the qualifying grid as most of the cars have set the times to order themselves for qualifying. You'll notice it's number 42 on pole position in that fire-breathing McLaren, the 199 N-Race Esports car. 5th place in the championship coming into the race weekend. Will start back in 19th place, Tom. Well, that's going to be a disappointing position for them to be, but the way I would look at it if I was them, you're going to try and follow the likes of Nick Madsen, Jan Nosek, and Max Riedmiller up through the field. Those cars 16th through 18th, the cars I'm watching out for.
Exactly, it's good company to be around in, but to be honest with you, N-Race Esports, I thought that because they'll be finishing last, they might have the advantage of starting on the very top of this particular race, but seemingly not working out for them. And it's a double whammy in that case, because in that sense, both the races are compromised.
The Roaring Chicken Nuggets saying they are frozen chicken nuggets in our YouTube chat. That definitely made me giggle just a little bit. We have 30 seconds left in qualifying right now. Take a look in at our live tweet machine. Sommel, what are you guys having for dinner today? I'm asking you this question. What did you have for dinner? Because I know what time it is for you.
I didn't yet. I'm going to be having dinner after the race. I thought that we'll be able to squeeze it in, but nah, it's going to be some good noodles after that. Just the best way to spend some Sunday.
What time is it for you, Sommel?
10:10.
Oh, okay, not that bad. For some reason, my brain wasn't working. I guess because it's 8 a.m. for me on a Sunday. But nevertheless, a couple of minutes away from getting done with qualifying and rolling it on in to the starting grid for race number 2, round 10 of the IVRA GT Sprint Series here live at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. And as we roll on over into that race session, we Matthew Briggs for .exe Esports taking us to the green flag. Florian Volt from ASM Speed Performance will line up on the outside of row 1. Matt Loveridge for Team Oblivion Racing will start in 3rd after we saw that car have a big issue and drop down the order. Potential race win on the hands, I would think, for Team Oblivion with the Apex Missers on the outside of row number 2. The Audi for Lapset Racing team will be in 5th position inside of row 3 with Quasar and Aaron Ackles starting in 6th place. Niels Teesters for Next Level Racing in the number 77 inside of row 4. Henrik Lalla on the outside in the Awesome Motorsports Group Ferrari. Jonathan Sterling in the CXR Project Black Lamborghini will be back in 9th position with Team Vikings on the edge of the top 10. The 222 for Shipsky Racing inside of row 6 in 11th position with Neil Butler in the Lapset Racing Ferrari on the outside in row number 12. Apex Missers, a sister car, back in 13 with number 56 championship leader coming into this race weekend, Michael Strogbauer, back in 14th. Samuel Robson will line up in 15th after an impressive 4th in race number 1 with Nick Madsen, Jan Nosek, and Max Riedmiller. The reverse podium starting 16th through 18th. Final 3 starters in today's field, N-Race Esports in the BMW, and then Roaring Chicken Nuggets and Quasar Sim Racing in the 25 car completes our 21 car field. And don't worry, 21 cars, Sommel. We had plenty of chaos in race number 1. I don't think we're going to be lacking for that today either.
Yeah, exactly. Race number 1 was intense, and there's this rather special thing. I mean, remember Kung Fu Panda, where they had that special soup, right? They asked, what's the special ingredient? Well, in that movie, there was no special ingredient as such, but here, it's going to be reverse grid racing, with all the top teams in the mid pack or the lower pack. With them coming back, although it's a shorter grid, it is still going to be intense because, as we have seen at Road Atlanta, you actually have to pick your spots really well. It doesn't always end up so easy for them.
Cars rolling off the start-finish line. When Dr. Don Panos bought this track back in 1996, he established it as his base for his motorsports operation, and a motorsport operation that all of us will be very familiar with because now the IMSA series has grown up. When ALMS and Grand Am merged, that was the brainchild of Dr. Don Panos merging with NASCAR and Grand Am to form the IMSA Sports Car Championship, and Petit Le Mans now one of the fixtures on the sports car calendar. 130,000 people attended that race in 2019, Sommel, and obviously 2020 with all the restrictions didn't see that number, but I know once race fans are back at the track, this will be one of those events that hundreds of thousands of people go to every single year on a pilgrimage to motorsport.
100% Arjuna, and the most heartwarming fact is that all kids aged 12 and under are given free entrances. That is how you make long-term motorsport fans. They know their core audience in the long term, they're working towards it. I love Road Atlanta.
So there are going to be a couple of cars reshuffling themselves around, so the starting grid that we showed you might be slightly different to how they actually take the green flag. Looks like Team Oblivion Racing might be starting in second. I don't see a car on the outside now. They might even be starting in first. Where is the .exe McLaren? That's where I'm trying to figure out. They're back in the outside of row number 2, so there's been a bit of mixing and shuffling around. Garrett Thompson for Quasar Sim Racing unfortunately down on pit lane already in that Lamborghini, so not sure what's happened to Thompson. But down into the chicane we go. The pace car will pull its way down onto the safety of pit lane, and field will be left in control of Florian Volk and Mayer SimSpeed Performance. 60 more minutes of racing action here at Road Atlanta, and then 2 hours at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park before we'll crown our inaugural series champion. Into the start zone we go, and we get underway. Round number 10 in the IVRA GT Sprint Series, side by side throughout the field as some of the faster competitors try and make their way up. Looks like Nick Madsen around the outside of turn number 1. Michael Strogbauer looks to the inside to try and get a move done. Hoisingveld as well on the outside with one of the RSR by G Performance cars. Matt Loveridge for Team Oblivion Racing, though, leads us down into turn 1, side by side in through the S. Is never what you want to see. They single file themselves out as you'd expect, and down in towards turn number 5 for the first time. Looks like some of those top drivers able to make up a few positions here, Sommel. Strogbauer and Madsen, they're up to 12th and 13th.
Absolutely, they have been gaining, but it is Matt Loveridge who has been the biggest winner as the Apex misses go around the outside, but then get the run compromised. No inside-outside this one. What's happened to the McLaren there?
Very poor run through turn 7, and that's really checked up a bunch of cars behind them as well. Awesome Motorsports Group in 8th trying to make some headway, but let's turn our attention further back in this pack to where some of the championship competitors will be moving their way up. CXR Project Black right behind the Mag Performance Audi as we head into the braking zone. The Audi defends the inside line, should be able to hold on to that. In front of them as well, they're all scrapping it out, losing time. Nick Madsen tries to get past Team Vikings up into 11th place, and Michael Strogbauer onto the edge of the top 10 already. First and second in the championship then as we come across the line for the very first time, Sommel. They're already up on the edge of the top 10.
See, this is a battle I would pay to watch. This is Mac Performance fighting up against CXR, and CXR are going door-banging right here with Team Vikings.
Oh no, and the McLaren's off in turn 3, so is Team Vikings. I saw one more car, Archer Brothers Esports, that was off into turn number 1. A number of cars getting caught out then at the start of this lap 2 here, Sommel. But so far, other than this, it's, again, that championship picture looking very promising for those two cars.
Absolutely, but that was a big incident right there. Many cars involved individually. Quite a crazy one. Still side by side at the very top. My goodness me.
No, and Quasar gets turned by Lapsat Racing Team. Strogbauer down the inside. More contact with Lapsat Racing Team. Michael Strogbauer now up into 7th position, and that championship fight with Nick Madsen right behind him as well. Both of those cars take advantage. Max Riedmuller up into 10th as well. Insane stuff, and guess what? Yeah, no second. That 55 car is following them as well, but intent from your championship competitors here, Sommel. Max Riedmuller down the inside of Lapsat Racing Team. Here comes the second RSR car in front of them as well. They're swarming the Awesome Motorsports Group Ferrari. Insane stuff to kick off race number 2.
And Madsen had to go around the outside for a second. He just smartly checked up right there. There was a 2-car buffer between Hurstingwald and Mac Performance. Now there is none. This is going to be so crazy. This already is so crazy.
Oh, look at this.
Getting a position.
Too wide, too deep in towards turn 3. This never works out, but they're going to make it work. Max Riedmuller will get around the Ferrari and up into 8th position. Matt Loveridge out front, though, has had an issue. What happened to Team Oblivion Racing? Parked on the outside of turn number 5. We'll have to take a look at these replays in a couple of moments' time. But for the meantime, let's stick on this live action. Strogbauer up into 4th. Madsen up into 6th. And Riedmuller in 7th.
And Riedmuller is already aggressive. He does not want to waste time. He sees Nick Madsen right there. He wants to go on the aggressive. Take a keen eye on his approach and entry towards the racing lines. It is a lot more aggressive. And Madsen now going on the prowl. He's counter-attacking. We're trying to gain a position here.
And remember as well, Riedmuller has pulled himself back into this championship in race 1. They'll both slip down the inside of the Next Level Racing Audi. Niels Testers does not want to get mixed up with the championship competitors. And now, look at this. RSR by G Performance 4th, Mags Performance 5th, Team Hoisingveld 6th. Florian Volk leads by 3 seconds out front right now. We're talking about Team Oblivion might be looking at the race victory here, but unfortunately, Sommel, these strongest competitors have run their way up through the field, and I really think now they'll be scrapping it out for 200 points.
Yeah, absolutely. They have just steamrolled past everyone, and that was a rather quick recovery from Mac Performance, RSR, and Hurstingweld right there. Seriously, Riedmuller versus Madsen. This battle is not just going to go on for the next 5 odd minutes. It's surely, for sure, going to be there for the next 55 minutes and beyond, because this is the one for the lead in the championship, folks. Remember, this is the one that matters the most, and they are already turning up the heat to 11 at the very start.
So let's work our way through these replays. First, it was the McLaren, loses it by itself. Hard into the wall, and unfortunately you could see Team Vikings flying into the picture right behind. We'll pick up Marty Yakula right here, and you'll see there may be some... Oh no, it's a mirror incident there as he loses that car as well. They both go flying through the gravel. What happens to Quasar then and Aaron Ackles? That was the incident that we saw further forward. That's... Okay, Aaron Ackles going off into that part of the corner. What happened then to Matt Loveridge? That was that 3rd incident we saw, Sommel, leading the race by himself. What happens down into turn 5?
I guess it's turn 5 once again. You bottom out, carry too much speed, and the Lambo. Oh, this is painful to watch. Oh my God. Team Oblivion, they've been through so much in race number 1. Sadly, through their own wrongdoing, they get punished once again. Such a big weekend it could have been, but I'm sure they'll bounce back. They're a strong team. They'll come back much stronger in CDMP.
Live pictures of Strogbauer up into 3rd. He gets past Tobias Wessels. As what's happened to Nick Madsen? Slight issue as Madsen has been passed by Max Riedmuller and has now fallen to 6th and is 3 seconds behind his championship competitor in that number 56 car. He's got a train of cars behind him as well, forming up, and we'll take a look at that replay of Max Riedmuller getting past Nick Madsen. Very nicely done into the braking zone at the chicane. Ooh, slight contact there, and that's why Madsen's lost the time then, Sommel. Slightly off onto the grass, and that's really compromised him down in towards this final section of the track.
Watch this and store this in your memory bank. This could be the move that defines the season one way or the other, or at least summarizes and gives you a good idea of the level of competition. Hursinwell and Mag going against each other, and these two guys have been absolutely at the top of their game. But Riedmuller has got it done. Riedmuller has forced his way up, and now it's no longer the Mag Performance car who leads. It is this one, the 56th, that is the championship leader.
Live points update.
This is still good.
Points update rather on the right-hand side of your screen. A Strogbauer all over the rear end of the laps at Racing Audi. He's going to punch his ticket into second and increase the points gap. It was 4 points when Strogbauer was running in third. It will extend up by another 10 points, I think. Now that Strogbauer finds himself on the second step of the podium, a little bit loose through turn 7 there, but able to hold on to it. Now the question is here, Sommel, what can Madsen do? He's the quicker driver in that car. He'll be staying in there until his 35 minutes of drive time are done, and they'll be handing it over to Michael Schlack. So the next 30 minutes, 25 minutes really, are going to be crucial in the season for the number 14.
It is something that I'm not able to do at this situation, and that is stay calm for him. Because when you go in that situation of tunnel vision, where you push extremely hard, mistakes are much easier to come by, and Madsen knows that. A very calm, composed, level-headed driver who will be doing exactly that. But his competitor, Arjuna, is just gone into the zone. Max Riedmuller with another fastest lap in the race. Hursinwell, man, I'm asking the same question that he did it early on in the broadcast. What have they had for lunch today?
Well, and what did they have for lunch yesterday as well? This seems to be a recurring trend, but does bode well for them heading into the final weekends for both the IVRA Club Sport and the GT Sprint Series. He's putting pressure onto that Audi now. He's only about 1.6 seconds back from Strogbauer in second. Strogbauer is closing the gap to Florian Volk in the Mayer SimSpeed Audi, down to just 1.9 seconds, 1.8 as that updates through our live timing sectors. Mag Performance are now 6/10 off the back of the Apex Missers as Team Hoistingfeld applies the pressure to the Audi, looks to the outside down into chicane, and I think Laps at Racing Team is going to make that very simple for them. So Hoistingfeld up into third now. Nick Madsen still struggling in fifth, and he's the next car that we watch out for. Great move there from Jan Nosek, though. He gets past Henrik Lalla in that AMG Ferrari, which is a bit of a weird thing to be saying. We'll take a look at this one, Samuel. Really nicely done under brakes.
Yep, well done. The Awesome Motorsport Group Ferrari not making it too hard for them, as they should. They realize that there's no competition as such in terms of pace. Their real opponents are in the back. But hey, it seems to be a recurring trend, this one, Arjuna. I checked the timing screen. There's another purple. It's from the same man once again. Max Riedmuller with his second consecutive fastest lap. And seriously, Hursinwell on the prowl here. They cannot tolerate the fact that they're currently in third in the championship provisionally. They want to go for first right away.
On board with Michael Strogbauer, who has hunted down Florian Volk. Volk at one point enjoyed a 3-second buffer over the rest of the field, but fastest laps between the two cars, almost a 1 second delta in performance. And right now, Florian Volk knows that he's going to have the lead, but not for much longer. And like Sommel says, Max Riedmuller 1.8 seconds back from the number 56 car, who down the inside takes the race lead. But there is Riedmuller hot on his heels, and Nick Madsen now up into fourth. Sommel has got some clean air of his own.
Oh yes, this should be interesting. Now Madsen no longer has the chip on his back. He can focus purely and solely on making the best moves. And indeed, Strogbauer makes the move. He gets up with a P1. This should be fun. After Riedmuller inevitably gets past Volk, which is going to happen at some point, and Volk has done a good job to hold on to P1 for so long, but still, you eventually get a feeling that he'll be getting up there. Then this is where the fun part begins. Currently, Mag Performance still in second place, but the rate at which Riedmuller is gaining positions, that could very well change. And the gap at the very top, Arjuna, look at how much RSR have gained. That incident early on in race number 1 may have just been their biggest blessing in disguise.
Well, it just updated by 10 points as Race Control gave them those 10 points for that pass on Florian Volk. So now the gap just under 20 points as the number 78 as well starts to fall down. 60 points separates those two cars. As look at the gap between first and third. It's not just the gap between Volk and Riedmuller that's come down. 1.4 seconds separates Riedmuller from your race leader. So this is going to be a fun fight in towards the pit window. Riedmuller unable to get the move done into the chicane. He'll have to wait in towards turn 1. Does look as though Max Riedmuller might be the most entertaining car on track right now, and that's because he's got the fastest car underneath him as well. Look at this, the move down into turn 1, the sun bright in his eyes, but nice and easy onto the brakes, and up into second place for Team Heusingfeld then. Meanwhile, looks like, unfortunately for the car that took the field to the green flag, Matt Loveridge has had another issue, and we'll pick up this replay. Working our way down in towards turn number 5. No, not another issue into turn 5 for Loveridge. Bit too much speed, the rear end snaps around. And once again, fortunately, Sommel, he's able to keep that one out of the tire barriers. I feel like I put the commentator's curse on them there. I feel like me talking about a potential race victory for the number 64 team was a little bit unfair, and maybe I need to find some additional wood to add to my commentator's setup around me.
Seriously, I think IVRA at this point should actually send you a table of something of sorts, because it's becoming a common occurrence at this stage. But yeah, self-imposed once again from Team Oblivion. It just so happens, right, when you try to correct one mistake, you go too aggressive and end up making another one. They'll be fine. They'll bounce back much better next time out. They've got to have that belief as well.
They have been fun to watch this season, so we will see them hopefully at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, rebounding in the way that we hope to see them rebound. Look at this train of cars though. Jan Nosek at the front of it in 5th. Then you got the likes of Laps Racing and the Apex Missers and the AMG Ferrari as well. And look who's up into 9th position after starting down in 19th. N-Race Esports and their BMW. Take a look in the left-hand side of your screen and you'll see the movers and shakers of today's race, Sommel. You'll obviously see the front couple of guys up a number of spots after an incredible start to the race, but impressive to see this charge through the field for N-Race Esports.
Yeah, Nicolas Pina has been excellent so far, making up 10 positions as you can see on the top left corner, and really has been capitalizing on all the opportunities he can find, which was unlike what happened with them in race number 1, but this is exactly what you need to do. Keep this as your team, keep this as exactly what you have to do later on. But now, the competition gets interesting. First up, the awesome motorsport group Ferrari that have done quite a decent job to stay in the top 10 so far.
Stefan Schlacker in our YouTube chat is, I think, finally conceding that the BMW will not secure victory here as the Apex Missers looks to the inside, deep under brakes, very close to that Laps at Racing Audi. I don't think Leon Gagouche really understood what was happening there, felt a little bit nervous, and I think the entire team and group has lost a little bit of time to Jan Nosek. They were doing a pretty good job of hanging on to the back of the number 55 car. Looking forward though, Nick Madsen right on the tail of Florian Volk now, and I don't think, Sommel, he can afford to lose too much time in this situation, and indeed, he's already looking to the inside through the S's. He's desperate to close the 3-second deficit to the front 2 in front.
And he absolutely has to. This is going to be one critical position. He has to get rid of Volk as soon as possible. This is the chance, and naturally eases down the inside. But Volk is not making it easy for him, you know. He's doing a good job respectively.
And Volk finally has to concede through turn 7. He will get the draft down into the chicane at turn A and B. I don't know if Nick Madsen is really going to appreciate Florian Volk fighting back here, because I think it's fair to say, Sommel, that Volk really did not fight either Strogbauer or Riedmuller this hard. Madsen has been having to defend and fight much harder, and you see in front, those two separated by just half a second at this point in time. There's now 5 seconds to Nick Madsen back in 3rd.
And no matter how fast you can drive, 5 seconds is a huge gap. More so when the top drivers are setting a fastest lap.
Pace is very rapid at the front. Take a look at this replay quickly for Laps at Racing. That Audi, bit too much curb on the inside. He doesn't lose too much time, fortunately. Able to gather it up, get it back onto the tarmac. We'll get back to those live pictures though, Sommel, because like you said, gaps come down. Riedmuller, fastest car on the track. 18.518 was his fastest lap though. Strogbauer has responded. Fastest lap for Strogbauer, an 18.444.
But the last time out, 7 tenths lost by Strogbauer in the last lap. Riedmuller has been chasing up. And remember Nick Madsen having to pass Volk? He put in a 1:19.833 losing over a second to these guys in the last lap. It really is getting tougher for Nick Madsen and the Mac Performance team right now. But Reid Muller in his stride, closing up to the RSR car. They lost some time the last time out. They've got to defend and fight for their life right here. And this could open up a door for Nick Madsen.
On board with Reid Muller down into the chicane. Maybe those RaceSpot logos, as I count 2 of them just on the rear end of that RSR car. Probably giving them that extra horsepower performance that's pushing that Lamborghini down the straightaway. We did see it in race number 1, Sommel. The Lamborghini has a bit more grunt in the engine department, but that Audi was a very, very rapid machine through this portion of the track, up in towards turn 3, and then down through the S's in turn 5.
Yeah, the Lamborghini may be slightly more frisky than its sister. The Audi may be slightly more frisky than its sister Lamborghini, but really in the corners, that is where you can carry a lot more pace. However, turn number 5, this is where the Lamborghini benefits. It is slightly better, only marginally under acceleration, so that is why Stolberg is able to pull up a couple of tenths here and there. Reid Muller just closes in once again as they come to the mid part of the corners.
And let's take a look in at that championship picture once again. The gap between the 56 and the 14 down to just 7 points if the 56 can hold on to the win in this race. The 78 car, though, finds itself out of the picture by about 50 points. That buffer comes down by 30 if they can get into the race lead. What will happen down the inside for Reid Muller? Is Strogbauer going to defend? He does defend. Slight contact between the two of them. Strogbauer gets forced onto that inside curve. Reid Muller with the superior momentum down the hill, Sommel. It's going to extend the gap. We'll take a look at that replay, though. I wonder if there's just a little bit of contact between the two of them.
Just a little bit. Rubbing's racing, right? That's what they say. And at least in sim racing, it works just fine, as long as you don't have to pay for damages. But yeah, a little bit. They get a bit naughty. And why should they not? They're fighting for the championship right here. The tempers are high, the stakes are high. And at last, the inevitable it seems has happened. Reid Muller is in the lead.
And that's updated our live point situation. The 14 re-inherits the championship lead. The gap between first and second, 3 points. And the 78 finds itself 28 points behind first. So if this is how the race is going to play out, first, second, and third, 78, 56, and the 14, we'll head into the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park with a super exciting championship fight on our hands. For now, though, 40 minutes left in this race, 5 minutes before the pit stop window opens. Not sure how some of these teams are going to want to play it here, Sommel. Reid Muller, I would expect to stay in the car all the way until the end of the pit window. Same for Nick Madsen. I think the question becomes, do you put Boris Ovando into the 56 car?
That is an interesting question, right? Ovando has just been facing a few issues lately, but hopefully he's not shy of confidence. That's going to be interesting, but they still want to back their top driver. Still want to see how it works out for them. But at the same time, I don't know. I feel like I'm a tape recorder at this stage. I'm saying the same thing over and over again. But how can I not? Reid Muller, another fastest lap. And it's an 18.2, goodness me. How quick is that?
I was waiting for you to figure that out when you said fastest lap. Reid Muller is dragging along Strogbauer with him, though. Last lap for Strogbauer, a 4.18, so 0.2 slower. But he's using that draft as effectively as he can to pull himself along and try and hold back the gap and the benefit that Reid Muller can gain all the way onto the grass there for Strogbauer as he powers down this hill. Let's power up the tweet machine very quickly. Stefan Schlacker, confused me with the Steve in his Twitter name there. Great fight back for Shipsky in race 1. Expecting a slightly less chaotic race number 2. I don't think he's getting what he expected. Stefan, by the way, did predict the Hoisingveld crew would win this race, so let's see how that prediction goes out. Also, from the IVRA League itself, no, not allowed. Not sure about tonight, but last night I had some pizza with pineapple. Not sure if this is Julian, Richard, or Casper, but we'll figure this out after the fact, and some words will be exchanged with us. Sommel, I know your opinion here. Not allowed.
Why is this even a discussion at this stage of the series? I mean, haven't we done it enough? It's not allowed, man. Just put something else on it.
I'm just enjoying that the first race of the IVRA competition schedule, or rather, the first big one where we had multiple teams come in was the 12 hours of Spa, and that was dominated by the conversation about pineapple on pizza, and it's continued throughout the remainder of the season as well. What's happened to the roaring chicken nuggets? Seems like they've been off track for 10 seconds, so they've broken the 5-second rule. Not sure they're going to be so good to eat anymore. And oh, that's just a bit of a hip check there from Quasar and Garrett Thompson. Take one more look at this one, Sommel. I think Garrett Thompson, who's on a bit of a recovery drive, was off the track a few laps ago, just trying to charge his way up through the field. A bit of a racing incident, I would think, there.
Yep, had to happen, right? You had to see incidents like this one happen in the reverse grid race at some point, and it's happened eventually. And unfortunately for the Roaring Chicken Nuggets team, not really working out in their favor, but not too bad. Damage limitation of sorts.
There are a few groupings of cars throughout the field. We'll turn our attention to the AMG Ferrari. I'm loving saying this confusing set of words right there. You see here, you got CXR Project Black and Jonathan Sterling behind, with Archer Brothers and Samuel Robson in close pursuit, but obviously the main story here, Sommel, is that championship fight out front. You've got Strogbauer keeping in touch with Riedmuller. Madsen, who's unable to claw these guys back in just yet. Gap between first and third is still up at 5 seconds.
Exactly, this is interesting, right? Madsen is not able to catch up. He's not able to close up on this battle that we're seeing right here. And that is even though these guys are fighting.
Uh-oh. I think the apex misses and missed the apex there at turn number 5. We'll grab a look at our RaceSpotTV replay. It seems like every IVRA race, there's one trouble, one hot spot on the track. Turn 5 seems to be that one here. Ooh, again, loses the rear end very early, Sommel. And he's parked on the curb in rather a dangerous way. Good job there. Good thinking from Tobias Wessels to back that car up and get out of harm's way.
Yep, that is really smart of him. Could have been far, far worse had he not. But once again, Arjuna, this battle just seems to go on all the way. Apex Missers, thankfully, doing the right thing. We're backing off, but man, the focus has to be here, seriously. They're still just tagging along with each other, but they're doing such an excellent job of making it such a clean battle. And Madsen's still not able to close up in.
There's your reminder of that championship picture as well. The 14 in third leads the championship. As things stand, Strogbauer very wide through turn number 5. Has to back out of the power. That will check him up in towards turn 7. You still have that draft from Riedmuller, but he'll have to close on in the braking zones of 7 and 10. Using a bit more curb than the Audi in front of him, getting a bit squirrely as he gets the power down, uses all the track on exit as well. Strogbauer, 0.7 of a second separates them, finds that draft opportunity. Riedmuller tries to break it. This is what I love. This is tension once again, Sommel. We had 5 hours of tension yesterday, and once again, here in the IVRA GT Sprint Series, 3+ hours of championship tension.
Which is absolutely what we love to see right here, isn't it? And now Riedmuller has eked out a little bit of a gap, but this isn't done yet and surely won't be, because right about now is when we usually tend to see our pit stops.
Pit window has just opened as we've dropped into the 35 minutes to go range, but once again, just a reminder, the race clock is not in use for drive time calculations. Instead, actual lap times are computed to calculate your drive time requirement, and there is a question mark about some of the cars in race number 1. No cars choosing to cut it close here in the second race of the weekend. Strogbauer once again very squirrely over the curb at turn number 5. Madsen has lost out by about half a second over the last 2 laps. Now finds himself 5.6 back from this battle out front. I'm looking at the body language of the RSR car right now, Sommel. Strogbauer is throwing it around. He is being very, very aggressive, but ultimately, he's keeping in that draft. My question now becomes, is he going to wear the tires out just that little bit more than Max Riedmuller's doing in front?
That's an interesting thing, Arjun. If he just closes in a little bit, he'll be suffering from that dirty air that will chew out his tires inevitably, but he ends up saving a lot more on fuel. And I'm not sure if that's the best thing you need right now in a GT sprint race where fuel isn't a major factor.
Oh no! Look at that big contact between Archer Brothers, and that's the Mayer SimSpeed Audi down into the braking zone at turn 10. It was looking like a move was on there Unfortunately, Samuel Robson gets his braking zone wrong, and the Lamborghini is the lucky one in that equation, Sommel.
Yeah, big incident right there from Archer Brothers involved in that one. Such a sad one considering where they were and how good they were in race number 1. Oh man, just perhaps the pressure piling on and then missed their braking. Clobbered,
no.
is not the word for that.
You could also see something interesting happens here. I'm not sure exactly what happens, but it's like he gets the clutch in. We'll roll this one back even further. Gets the clutch in, because you can hear the engine go into that clutch mode, but then doesn't shift down from 6. So I'm not sure what's happened here. But we saw Florian Volk leading this race at one point. He's now at the tail end of the field. Pick up the live pictures once again, though. Halfway through this race, a number of cars down onto the pit road, including the likes of Shipsky Racing, Apex Misters, and Team Oblivion Racing. Your race leaders, though, Sommel, still out there on the track.
Arjuna, I'm baffled. I thought that it couldn't be improved, but it has been improved. Michael Stockbauer, a 118.068. That is insane.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you here, Sommel, because while I'm sure it was an impressive lap time, he has also got the benefit of the draft in front. And at a track like Road Atlanta, where you're going down that back straightaway right in that drafting opportunity, you can go late onto the brakes. I talked about Strogbauer having to close that gap up, Sommel. I wonder if that was that monster lap we saw.
Exactly, but it's ridiculously good the way these guys are able to lap in. But still, once again, he does the smart thing of staying back around and staying within that 1 second window, because then he's not wearing out his tires but still getting the draft and making sure that he doesn't lose touch with Riedmuller. But it may seem like Riedmuller has a natural faster raw pace, but Stockbauer, that was an excellent lap all the way through.
And there are some battles up and down through the field. Couple cars down on pit lane. CXR Project Black included in that grouping of cars as they get off the pit lane. Paul Searle jumps back behind the wheel of the car. 6 minutes left in the pit window. Lights flashing then from your race leader as he encounters lap traffic coming across the start-finish line. That's the Archer Brothers Audi that was involved in that incident. Caleb Lavender has just got him back behind the wheel of that car. And at this point, Sommel, I wonder, I'm taking a look at my track map, not too much traffic in front of these guys. If you're Strogbauer, why not do something different? Why not come down the pit lane this time around, see what Riedmuller's going to do, which is probably extended all the way till the end of the pit window, and see what Boris Avando can do. He was being very strong in the first couple of rounds, but it was just technical issues last time out that compromised that charge.
Yeah, exactly. Boris Avando, just technical issues, as you mentioned, that has really derailed his charges. He has it in him. He is the star driver. He is the superstar for RSR Esports by G Performance who can get it done. Maybe this is the time. Maybe this is where they shake things up, switch the thing, and see what it works out for them.
On board with Riedmuller, what's going to happen then? This time down in towards the chicane. More cars down onto the pit lane as well. Lapsat Racing, Quasar Sim Racing, Yoni Waters behind the wheel of the 26 once again. And this time around, neither of them blink. Gap back to Nick Madsen as well. Is up to 6 seconds between first and third. So unfortunately, it looks like Madsen is dropping off, and we know that Schlax is quick, but maybe not as consistently quick as Nick Madsen is. So there's a couple more cars coming out of the pit lane as well. Race leaders still pounding around on the track. And remember, Sommel, these are guys that started back in the field and have had to drive their way up to the front.
Yep, they have done that with some confidence in the early part of the race, and they didn't have that pace advantage, and it would seem like they would make their way in, but it's not an easy thing to do. You still have to go out there and make the move. When you're on the track, all the past does not count. You just have to focus on the present, and these guys have done that extremely well. But Madsen, he's fallen back 1.5 seconds, Arjuna, from that 5-second window that he's had. It's not really turning out to be the best of races for Mac Performance as it stands.
Well, it's not like that car doesn't have pace. Best lap time for him, a 1:18.335, so he's only a tenth slower than Riedmuller, who wouldn't have had his draft when setting that fastest lap time. By the way, Riedmuller last time, a 2:88, so he's still very quick and consistent on the tires. down under the bridge once again. Strogbauer blinks. Strogbauer is the first of the 3 leaders to come down onto the pit road, and watch it here as he gets down onto that fast lane. No issues there. We were a bit concerned about that 3-second rule. But Strogbauer will hand over now to Boris Avando for the final 28 minutes of this race. Max Riedmüller then a couple more laps out there to try and build that buffer. Clean air in front of him, Sommel. He's the fastest car on the track the last time around. What can he do this time out front?
I mean, it's a situation like giving fresh meat to a lion, right? He will absolutely devour it. That's what Max Riedmüller is getting given right now. Fresh air, clean air. But not so much in every part of the track, as Apex missiles are facing the wrong way.
And that's through turn 5 as the Mayor SimSpeed Audi comes up behind them. What happened to Yuri Matheson here? Down through the S's with CXR Project Black right behind them in their Lamborghini. Oh, there's a slight contact there between the two of them. That Lamborghini does a good job to be able to get out of the way. We'll spool this one back, Sommel, and jump on board with the CXR car. Just see what happens into the braking zone.
Yeah, tough one this for Paul Searle. He's coming from the Ford. Spent a few races with the Lamborghini, but I would say differences in braking point at turn number 5, perhaps?
Yeah, maybe just a misjudgment there from Paul Searle, but contact made. Race control will take a look, and Max Riedmüller down onto the pit lane as we jump back to the live pictures. So Riedmüller will hand that car over to Mats Thorts Hutzfeld, who we got to talk to in between the races. And Nick Madsen inherits the race lead, still out there on the track. He's going to cut this very, very close indeed. We'll have to watch out for him as we now wait for Boris Avando to roll his way down in towards the chicane and pick him up in that battle with Team Hoisingveld. It does look as though Team Hoisingveld might be able to get out in front once again. They're taking tires this time around, still up on the jacks as Avando climbs the hill to come under the bridge. Off the jacks now for that Hoisingveld machine, up to pit lane speed and trying to get out on that pit exit. Where are they? Still rolling. It's going to be really, really close between the two of them, but I think Hutzfeld's going to have a 2-second advantage. But of course, Sommel, tires have to come up to temperature and pressure. This one is going to come all the way to the checkered flag.
Absolutely, but after that is done, Hutzfeld can just get into his own rhythm and establish the kind of pace that he was doing early on in race number 1 as well. So this should be interesting. And now, inevitably, Madsen will pit, and he does.
So look at how close this is, though. He has to get all the way into his box to, or at least come across the line, I would guess. Madsen slows to that pit entry speed. 25 minutes, 20 seconds on the clock. So he's managed to just get in within the window, I would think. Michael Schlacks will just have 25 minutes to hold on to a championship leading position. 2 seconds then between Avando and Hutzfeld as we take a look at this shot down the back straightaway. 2.6 seconds. So in fact, it's a bit bigger than I anticipated, and it looks like the overcut here, Sommel, might in fact have worked because pit lane time for the two cars virtually identical.
Yeah, exactly. But interestingly, Michael says that they haven't quite taken tires yet, Arjuna.
Oh, well then maybe the Team Hoisingveld machine didn't either. We did see that slightly short pit time on our timing screen, 20 seconds for Hoisingveld in race number 1. We did speculate if that was potentially just a small glitch, but 3 seconds now the gap as Mats Thorts Hutzfeld has gotten up to racing speed in a very short order and starting to drop Boris Avando. 2 seconds. 3 seconds the gap between Hutzfeld and Avando. Michael Schlacks finds himself a further 5 seconds down the road from your second place runner at this point in time. What does that mean from the live point situation? Well, it's basically the same as it was coming into this pit cycle, Sommel. Still very close as we are in the second portion of race number 2.
Isn't that beautiful, Arjuna? 3 points. Just 3 points separating the Michael Schlacks Mac Performance car and the number 56 Boris Avando machine for the RSR Esports G Performance team. 3 points. Seriously, when you're rewarded 200 for winning, only 3 points separating the top 2 teams in the championship with only 2 races to go just baffles my mind. I can't get my head around it. And honestly, it just will put up for such a show at the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. But in the present moment too, it's turning out to be quite a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is indeed as we ride on board with Evander. 3.2 seconds at the line between the 78 and the 56. I think Stefan Schlacker had that prediction, Sommel. Reed Muller got the move done and he hasn't looked back since then. His teammate is picking up right where he left off, looking very good for the 78 car. Question now becomes, what's the pace going to look like between Evando and Schlax?
Oh yeah, this is going to be interesting. Evando and Schlax, I would say, two very evenly matched drivers who have proven their worth time and time again on IVRA competition. Should be fun to see how this goes out, and I'll be keeping a keen eye on their pace. But Apex Missers, even after having a torrid day, their spirit and their whole just does not go down, does it?
Looks like they're almost pushing Team Oblivion through that final corner. Very close stuff here for 15th position. Team Oblivion recovering as off the track goes the Apex Missers. Can he keep it out of the wall? It's going to be close for Yuri Matheson. Oh my word, fantastic car control in the 186. You can afford to miss a few apexes if you can save the car like that. Take a look at this RaceSpotTV replay, and through the final corner they're already very, very close, but it's going to be an absolutely miraculous save here through the grass, Sommel.
Yeah, this was just insane. The level of car control, it just bunny hops the car, but he still keeps it. And close past the wall, and then take a look at this hop as well, past the curve. Whoop, and down. Lovely stuff. Good mid-race entertainment, this one.
Let's look at this, see how close it was. You see the steering wheel, very smooth, very composed, finds the perfect amount of opposite lock, and keeps it out of the wall. Oh, insane stuff, and love being able to highlight small things like that as we'll pick up live pictures in a battle further up. Look at this, edge of the top 10, 5 cars scrapping it out right now. Who's that in the meat of the sandwich? Quasar Sim Racing, and the second of the Apex Missers, Yuri Steinmetz in the 185 car right now. But exciting stuff then from Road Atlanta, Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta as it's now officially called. Michelin having bought the naming rights, and I do like the idea, Sobel, of a Michelin man being blown up quite large somewhere in that track infield.
Bad image, Arjuna. That is a bad image to imagine. It's going to be too funny to see how that happens. But certainly, we'll all be sharing the same smile that the Michelin man does. And mistake by the Apex Missers. Houston, engage, code brown. This is about to get interesting.
Oh my, I thought you were going something slightly differently with the Houston line. Quasar Sim Racing tries to look to the inside as Isaac Barkley tries to follow his teammate up into the 12th and 13th spots respectively. They are stringing themselves out a little bit more, but some good fighting up and down through the field. Gap out front though, 4.2 seconds as Team Hoisingveld really builds up a significant buffer to their competitors. It's like I said, Sommel, what are they eating for breakfast? 2 consecutive days here where Team Hoisingveld have really shown some absolutely incredible pace.
And I don't know, we might have to go in there and check for ourselves maybe when the pandemic is done what their secret to success is. And that is still with lots of changes in the organization and the management side, Arjuna. I wouldn't say turmoil, but there's been some turbulence going on with more people coming in, new people going out, old people coming out and new people coming in. Sorry, a lapse of concentration initially, but you get the idea, right? There's been changes in that team, but to still hold that level of pace and have a high sense of performance in a competition as competitive as this one, very well done, sir.
Oh no, Yuri Matheson, after that fantastic save, now finds himself back in pit lane. What's happened all by himself? Jump on board, loses it early in towards turn 3, and I think in this case, nothing that could be done. Spool it back one more time, Sommel, and take a look at terminal damage then for the 186.
Yeah, they were taking wide lines initially once, not through their own fault, but this one, yeah, hitting the wrong part of the curb and bang. That is a $500,000 worth of damage in the real life. Thankfully here you can just park off, say goodbye, maybe have a nice hot bath at the end of the day, and come back later on.
I do like the idea of maybe charging people for damage in a series and getting people to clean themselves up in that way. But back to live pictures and this battle that's intensifying once again. Next Level Racing in their Audi, right behind Lapset Racing Team in their Audi. They switched over from the Ferrari to the Audi midway through the season when a Joker car switch was allowed. Apex Missers, they're going to have to defend here from Quasar Sim Racing because I think the 185 actually managed to get past Yoni Waters at some point. Now has 2 Quasar cars stacked up behind him. nice little fight here. 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th. So you can find some battles, Sommel. You just have to go searching for them a little bit.
Exactly. On a more serious note though, to be honest, the battles may look slightly lower down in the order, but seriously, when you're driving, no battle is small enough. Whether it may be for last position, first, midway through the pack, the intensity is just there. And for these guys, it may just be a mid-pack battle, but boy, they are fighting for it. And if there's one thing I can say from experience, these guys will just not be letting go, especially when there's just, what, 18 minutes to go on the clock? Take a look at this one now.
Oh my, you made me realize that we've only got 18 minutes to go. Final third of this race. The Next Level Racing looks to the inside. Apex Misters tries to sweep around the outside. They'll go to the inside of the second part of the corner, checks them up, has Quasar and that first Lamborghini will squeeze down the inside. What's that second with the red wheels going to try and do? Follows the teammate down the inside. Team Oblivion Racing as well down the inside. And the Apex Misters go from 12th to 15th in the space of 2 corners. Some great racing stuff here and great respect being shown as well, Sommel.
Seriously, this is just so good. Mid-pack GT3 racing at its finest. What happened for the Apex Misters right there? Just missed their Apex. No pun intended, to be honest. That just slipped out of my mind. But seriously, really not working out for them towards the end of this race. But at least they're having a lot of fun.
That was the first replay. Was that? No, the first replay was the incident, Sommel, where the Apex Misters got up into 12th position past Quasar, and that was the replay then of the subsequent pass as well. Too wide, too deep almost, in through turn 7. Quasar squeezes around the outside. Lapsat Racing Team now down into 13th position as one of the Quasar cars, and that's Yoni Waters, finds himself on the edge of the top 10. So craziness now, and 2 battles as Quasar defends from Next Level Racing and also tries to attack the likes of Team Oblivion. So, like you say, Sommel, great stuff. Apex Misters down to the inside, too wide once again. Car on the inside should be able to hold the momentum. Superior exit there for Apex Misters, and we'll jump on board with the Lapsat Racing Team. It's got a great view of these 2 cars scrapping it out in front of him. The Apex Misters off into the grass, but able to hold on to it. They're back up into 13th place. That Audi tries to follow around the outside for a moment, has to back out of it. But like we say, edge of the top 10, exciting stuff as they fight for some very important championship points. 1 raced weekend left after this, Sommel. And again, like you said, it's not just about the fights at the front of the field. There are championship fights even here for 10th.
Exactly. It is just go, 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 go. There is no time to rest. Intense, crazy IVRA action. And it's GT3 race cars. I heard someone say, well, I think a couple of months ago, that it's hard to do good racing with GT3 cars. Of course it isn't. Take a look at how this one is going out. On certain tracks, yes, but Road Atlanta, being the gem that it is, always comes up with an excellent opportunity to go and do battle. Quasar closing up now. Just within that sweet window of getting the draft. They'll not be close enough to make the move at the chicane coming up, but perhaps turn 1 could be their slot.
So we've got this battle for 13th, the battle in front for 12th as well. Great stuff from Road Atlanta. Meanwhile, out front, while all of this scrapping is taking place, turn our attention to the battle, not really a battle, the challenge for first. And unfortunately, Boris Evando is proving to take this race rather steady now, Sommel. After the rather more exciting race 1 he had, it's been smooth and steady. And second place, and the points that are associated with that for the number 56 car. We'll take a look at the live point situation one more time, just to remind everyone, 3 points between first and second.
I mean, not that we need to, but do you know how to sneak some money in through PayPal just so that they can create some drama towards the end? Nah, just kidding. There's enough drama going on any which ways whatsoever. At the top it may be slightly cold, but it's big in terms of the championship battle. That's one thing to look forward to in the long run. In the short run, in the present moment, it's this battle for P10 that's turning out to be rather impressive. And Yoni Walters doing a good job to block everyone off and just hold his composure for Quasar.
And we'll now wait to see if Thomas Cope and Team Oblivion Racing can get back up into the top 10 after we put a bit of a commentator's curse on them, starting from the front of the field here in race 2. They were also very rapid in race 1 until an unfortunate incident. And what I've noticed here, Sommel, it's maybe just their paint scheme, which is a bit deceptive here, as they're going to try and get past Yoni Waters around the outside into turn number 1.
That is good.
Very close stuff, but Waters able to hold on and squeeze that second Lamborghini. The front hood of that car, though, is a bit deceptive. It looks like it's crumpled in, but that might just be the various angles of all the dive planes and radiators and whatnot on the front of that car.
No, you're actually right, Arjuna. Maybe they actually didn't have that damage earlier. Maybe we were just stumped by the livery design. Not that... I mean, I don't know. We have seen this Oblivion car before, but we've never quite been as confused with it. So Team Oblivion are fine, it seems.
Through turn 7.
Or are they?
Well, no. I'm almost 100% sure that car looks fine right now, because I think it looked exactly the same in qualifying 50 minutes ago. So I think Thomas Cope has got every tool that he has available to him to attack Yoni Waters in front. Let's jump on board with the Lamborghini. Defensive from Waters down into the braking zone. Unable to cover off in time. He'll be squeezed to the inside, and we've seen that outside build momentum over the crest of the hill. Still side by side as we'll plunge down the hill over the Michelin Bridge. Yoni Waters will edge ahead. Contact made. He shoves Thomas Cope off into the grass. Bit of aggressive racing there, but all's fair in love and war, Sommel.
All's fair in love and war, and just be simple, people. See cars go side by side, enjoy cars go side by side. That was absolutely incredible. Cope has closed up so much, he's gained so much time, and time for another Murrayism. I noticed I didn't have one today, and it's time to bring out my favorite one. It's one thing to close up to one car, it's another thing to pass. Mental satisfaction.
Oh, and unfortunately then for the Laps at Racing team, they won't be passing anyone for the remainder of today's activities. Loosed very early through turn 3, and Mayor SimSpeed Performance doing a very impressive job to avoid making contact. Back to live pictures, Yoni Waters in a whole heap of tire smoke coming out of turn number 7, down to 14th place, and something big happened in that battle for turn 10. And Sommel, take a look at this RaceSpotTV replay.
Confusion is written all over my face, and I'm sure it's the same for you as well. No longer so. Put his wheel on the dirt, and when you do that in iRacing and also in real life, well, exactly that is the end result. Textbook mistake, and I feel bad for Quasar. There have been so many big opportunities that they had to score good points, just ruined, I would say, by small mistakes here and there. They have to fight back, and they will.
Thomas Cope must have been giggling with delight there as he gets promoted then up into 10th position. Now pulls away from the likes of Next Level Racing and the Apex Missers 185 car. Some of these battles then starting to break up a little bit. That grouping of 5 cars for 10th now splinters up into about 3 groups. 2 Quasar teammates doing battle as we'll jump on board with Yoni Waters once again in towards turn 5. You can see all the cars using lots of curves through that turn 5 complex with 10 minutes left on the clock as well. So things are coming to a head. But out front, we'll check in with our top 3 once again. As Mats Hutzfeldt slings that car down through the S's. He's got a 6-second advantage now, Sommel, to his rival behind, Boris Avando, as Avando tries to close him down. The gap as well to Michael Schlacks, an incredible 10.4 seconds.
Yeah, it's been a bad day for Hersenwell. No, just a very, very normal day for Hersenwell. Just the usual stuff. Nah, man, seriously, how have they performed today? How good have they been so far? And to have a driver like Boris Angelo-Vando, who's still not able to cut down that gap big time, shows you how consistent and how clean Hersenwell have been all the way through. I said early on about it's like handing fresh meat to a lion. That's what they've done, right? They've capitalized on it. They've pounced and they've used it to the best of their advantage. And Hersenwell, who seemed 2 rounds ago that they'll be going away from the championship, are just gaining.
You know what I've just realized? Are we watching history in the making here? I think this will be the first time that the same team has won both of our races in the IVRA GT Sprint Series. I was thinking hard there, Sommel, because it's happened in the IVRA Club Cup with Dave Chapman at Barber Motorsports Park. It hasn't happened in the IVRA GT Sprint Series. So history in the making here. And Hoisingveld, 8.5 minutes then from being the first team to win Race 1 and Race 2 in an IVRA GT Sprint race weekend. Let's turn our attention to the battles further back is Team Oblivion, now up into 9th, getting past Martin Hobson in the laps at Racing Ferrari. Good comeback from Thomas Cope and Matt Loveridge in that car. Behind them as well, Apex Missers trying to get past the Next Level Racing Audi. Down the hill under the Suzuki Bridge with Yoni Waters in hot pursuit as well, trying to recover from his spin. So 8 minutes to go here. These guys are going to be fighting all the way to the flag. The question becomes, how many laps do they have to scrap it out as the Lamborghini looks to the outside, but now he's going to have to defend from Yoni Waters and covers off that move from Quasar down into turn 3. The race leader is coming down, Sommel, across the start-finish line as we speak. So 7 minutes, 40 seconds left on the clock. I think we're looking at 3 and a bit laps to go. Wait, no, sorry, I can't do math apparently. It's more like 5 and a bit laps to go.
Well, that makes 2 of us in the comedy box in that case.
Well, Quasar down the inside of Apex Missers while we were taking a look at that. So it looks like they'll have an additional lap compared to your race leader. But 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th then stacked up. Meanwhile, in front of them, Thomas Cope is 1.5 seconds behind Pierre Burmeister in the AMG Ferrari. So watch out for him to get up to that position as well. Yoni Waters is going to sling it down the inside, get back up into 11th place after his mistake. And for now, his teammate Isaac Barkley stuck in 14th spot. So 6 minutes to go. It's not going to be a fight till the end at the front like we had last time, Sommel, but very much so a fight here in the mid-pack. Look at Apex Missers once again.
Yeah, they've had the spirit, and you've got to appreciate that for Apex Missers. They have been through hell and back. That does not discourage them. They're here to have a good time. They're here to gain as many positions as they can. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to do just that. Surprise, surprise.
On board with Isaac Barkley as he's now tucked up behind Justin Nager, who's lost a couple of places over the last couple of laps. That Next Level Audi was holding strong on the edge of the top 10. 6 minutes left to go then. 7 seconds the gap out front. Team Oblivion Racing finds themselves 0.4 of a second off this Ferrari. And like I said, very impressive fight back from the number 64 crew. We'll take one more look at the positions gained because you'll see the 64 down 6. That was after that early race incident. They're about to go up one more position into 8th. Thomas Cope makes it look very easy indeed, Sommel, but like I say, after an early race mistake, it's been a good mental fight back from this team to get up into the 8th spot.
Yeah, it has been. Team Oblivion, the fight back has been something that's been very... It's been a characteristic of quite a few teams in IVRA, right? They've been shoved down and out, but they still find a way to get back, and that's the kind of spirit that we want to be looking at. And it's an amazing thing about the kind of devotion and the kind of effort that people can put in for a sim racing event, and just to have that spirit like, no, I want to finish it, I want to do the best that I possibly can, really makes my heart go warm, makes me feel rather fuzzy.
It's always nice when you see cars having issues early in these IVRA races, like Team 11 yesterday, Sommel, who I was watching back my commentary of the race. I remarked 30 seconds after the race start, oh, Team 11 at the back of the field. Guess what? They won that race yesterday. So especially in IVRA competition, anything can happen. Look at this as well, though. We've got Shipsky Racing and Mayor Sim Speed Performance joining the battle. Shipsky Racing down the inside of, that's the Quasar Isaac Barkley powered machine. And Shipsky Racing up into 14th. Very late under brakes, made it look very easy, though. I think Shipsky Racing here might be looking at a potential top 12 finish. Still getting dropped back from that Quasar Lamborghini that's going to poke its nose to the inside into the chicane. Last of the late breakers. They'll still fight it out side by side. I think that Shipsky Racing BMW a bit more stable through the mid part of the corner, able to sweep that momentum. He'll be stuck on the high line, then around this final corner. Just about able to make it work. Here comes that Audi down the inside as well, though. And Mayor Sim Speed Performance going to do one on Shipsky.
Bring it on, Mayor, getting the move done. That is a smart one. An anti-Shipsky send if there was one.
That's true. We had Shipsky send yesterday. Anti-Shipsky sends. Well, he had a send. It just didn't work out in his favor, maybe. So maybe that's the way of looking at it as we jump on board with the BMW M4. A new wave of GT3 machinery is coming to the iRacing service, and it all kicked off with the BMW M4 and the Lamborghini Huracan. I should make it clear, I don't have any information about new GT3 cars. I'm just hoping that with the addition of a prototype, unhomologated GT3 car, that maybe bodes well for the future of this class on the iRacing service. 3 minutes left to go then in this race, and while there are battles further down the field, let's talk about the championship picture very quickly one more time. The Audi for Team Hoisingveld, it has been an up and down season, but it's coming very strong here as Shipsky Racing getting very aggressive there, and they'll have to go off the track as Mayor Simspeed are going to sweep back around the outside to retake that position. But Sommel focusing in on this championship picture. 2 races left to go. It's going to hold with these points, we're fairly sure. Maybe the 56 drops 10 points or so from a penalty from race 1, but nevertheless, it is mighty close between the top 3, and the performance is mighty close between the top 3.
It is insane, Arjuna. I can't think of the margins that will be splitting up the teams at the end of the day. It's just going to be so baffling to see all the probabilities and I mean, what's the word for that, right? My mind has gone blank all of a sudden, which shouldn't happen at this stage of the race, but the possibilities and probabilities, just understanding what each team needs to do to get ahead of each other, and that level of pressure, that level of performance, they'll have to sustain a great deal of it. And CTMP is not an easy track. CTMP is very topsy-turvy, very limited places to pass, so there, holding on to your mental composure is going to be a real challenge for these guys. Then you add reverse grids, then you add the championship challenge, then you add just the nature of the track. It is going to be insane. We're looking too far forward. It's a month later on, but it is too good to imagine, too good to be true, to be honest.
It's a month away, Sommel, but again, last race weekend of the season, so
yeah,
very much looking forward to that, even though it sounds like one of us will have to miss that broadcast, but I have a feeling we'll be watching on with close interest indeed. So where is your race leader then? Answer coming out of the final chicane. Down the hill he'll climb, and he'll take the white flag this time around with 70 seconds left on your race clock. 8 seconds is the gap to Boris Avando, and a further 5 seconds to Michael Schlacks in the MAG Performance Sim Racing team. What can you say here, Sommel? I mean, yesterday I may have been very highly talking up that GT4 car, but I think the drive from this GT3 car through that reverse grid was even more impressive. And I'm going to be honest, despite the fact that they're going to go into that final round in 3rd in the championship, they might be my championship favorites.
I think I'm just going to use one word, and that is dominance. And it is backed up by the fact that they are en route, and very much en route to be the only team to score 2 wins in a race weekend in IVRA competition, at least in the GT Sprint Series. Insane stuff. And you're right, Arjuna, confidence is on their side, momentum is on their side. You can't quite count them out. If they carry this in, and with the kind of pace they're having, oof, this is going to be too good.
Well, it's been 3 race victories for Mats Hutzfeldt and his teammates so far this season. The first time, though, they'll take 2 race victories in the same weekend and pull their total up to 5 victories on the season. They take a dominant victory here at the Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta, and they set up a championship showdown in 1 month's time at the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park that I cannot wait for here live on RaceSpotTV. We have 120 minutes of racing action left in our inaugural season of the IVRA GT Sprint Series, and my oh my, Sommel, it's gonna come down all the way to the wire.
I am rubbing my palms in excitement. I've got the biggest smile on my face. The championship could go anywhere out of 3 places. Hustingville, RSR, MAG Performance. And interestingly, the leaders are the team that haven't won a single race yet. Make of that what you will. IVRA competition in the GT Sprint Series has just delivered big time, and we are going to have the one final big bang a month later.
The cream rises to the top, and the top 3 in the championship finish the top 3 in today's race as well. Congratulations then to Mats Thors Hutzfeldt and his teammate for a dominant performance today. But all eyes now turn north of the border to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where in 1 month's time, these three teams will do battle for one final time this season, and will crown our first ever GT Sprint champions. We wait then for the final couple of cars to come across the line before we can show you the race results. But Max Riedmuller, Mats Thords Hutzfeld take the win from Jan Nosek and Boris Angel Avando. Fantastic action, Samuel, and despite the fact that we just had 22 cars, I think in some ways the quality of that reverse grid start benefited from the likes of Hoisingveld being up in 19th place.
It was better, Arjuna. I thought the racing was even better. Yes, in certain patches it was slightly less intense, if I may put it that way. But on the whole, if you look at the quality of the racing, just very good. Certain moments of action and certain moments where things got rather messy. But the mid-pack battle, the battle that we saw at the top, everywhere coming through, I think this has to be one of the more fun race weekends that I've commentated on. And seriously, I'm gonna go sleep with a big smile on my face, because that is how you put up a good race. That is how you put up a good show.
So 90 laps at the Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. Team Hoisingveld leading basically every single one, and they take race victory here by 9 seconds from Boris Avando and RSR Esport by G Performance. The first time we've ever seen the same team take 2 race victories in the same weekend in this GT Sprint Series. It really sets up that championship showdown with Michael Schlacks, that final podium position finisher as well for Mag Performance Sim Racing Team. Oscar Coper recovers nicely for that number 55 car after technical issues last time out, dropped it out of the championship fight. Maxime Marriott for N-Race Esports recovers to an impressive 5th place. The car that started 5th place in the championship needed that result to maintain its position, with Paul Searle in 6th for CXR Project Black, then Archer Brothers Esports, Team Oblivion Racing, Awesome Motorsports Group, and then that battle that we saw for the majority of the second half of this race. Yoni Waters for Quasar Sim Racing, edge of the top 10 with Martin Hobson, Yuri Steinmetz, Isaac Barkley, Manuel Mayer Radu, Zernovu, I think I butchered that name unfortunately, Harry Keglin, and then David Malunowicz and Justin Nager all finishing 1 lap down. Robin De Becker, that only car 1 lap down with Yuri Matheson. We saw that big issue for the 186. He finishes 15 laps down. And unfortunately, retirement on the second lap of the race. It was .exe Esports in their fire-breathing McLaren. And that rounds up our race results. So a quick breath then, Sommel, as we wait for, once again, the interviewees to step up into the virtual commentary booth and talk to the same drivers that we talked to after race number 1. It's going to be the likes of Team Hoisingveld, RSR, and Mag Performance, teams that we've become very accustomed to talking to throughout the season so far.
Exactly. They've been just so good. There's a clear gap, clear gulf in performance between these guys and those in the mid-pack, but this doesn't mean that those in the mid-pack haven't put up a great show. Their competition, their spirit, they've just delivered in that department. But for these folks, the top 3, man, their performance levels are just insane to see. Just the lap times, Arjuna, mind-boggling stuff.
Well, I was just about to drag in the 3rd place finishes Mag Performance into the booth, but I tell you what, let's start with our race victor, Mats Thords Hutzfeld, because he's just jumped in, and Sommel Aurora is standing by with the back-to-back race winner.
Mats, once again, what a race, man. Many congratulations, and I'm pretty sure you know this, but still, the first ever team to get a double victory in a race weekend in IVRA GT Sprint competition. That's a new record, man.
Oh, I didn't recognize that. We are so delighted that we have won both races, because race 2 was really tough in the first half to get through the traffic, and Max did a fantastic job. And both wins were essential for our championship campaign. So we are still in the fight, and we try to win this somehow. Maybe we can get this.
Well, Matt, one question that we were discussing on the broadcast is, what did he have for lunch? Because that, seriously, the kind of pace that you guys were able to extract was just mind-boggling, to say the least.
Honestly, I had nothing for lunch. I only had breakfast after my early morning run today. and yeah, I'm quite hungry now, so yeah, no special fuel today for the race.
It did seem to pay off in the end, whatever it was. It might not have seemed special, but that performance on the broadcast was just mind-boggling. But Matt, now the final round, right? You carry momentum on your side. At least on the table, you guys are third. But the momentum really is in your favor. Do you think you can actually go ahead and get it done? And if so, what strategy are you looking forward to next weekend?
Firstly, I have to learn the track. I never raced at Mooseport, so yeah, this will be the first task, and then yeah, we have to make sure that we get a good setup and yeah, and try to keep it clean. And yeah, I think in the last race anything can happen.
Well, it should be good, Max. Matt, it should be a very interesting one. And finally, who would you like to give a shout out to, mate? A really big win for you guys in Team Hursingwell, and actually a really good follow-on from yesterday's Club Sport race too.
Yeah, for sure. First, a shout out to the guys of Team Heusingfeld who are watching the stream now. We get some congrats already, and yeah, it's really crazy today, the race, and also yesterday the championship in the Club Sport Series. Great weekend for the team.
Matt, many congratulations, mate. Thank you so much for joining us up here in the commentary booth. Real good fun, and all the best for the next time, man.
Thank you.
So that was race winner for the third time in a row as well, Sommel. It's not just back-to-back here at Road Atlanta. They were race number 2 victors last time out at Zandvoort. So 3 for 3, and it's really shaping up very nicely then for the number 78 of Max Riedmuller and Mats Thorts Hutzfeld. Next up then on our post-race show, it's going to be the number 56, Boris Avando and Michael Strogbauer, and Sommel Aurora is standing by.
Boris, firstly, mate, how are you doing? Congratulations on second place. You seem to have made the move up to the 56 car for this one.
Yeah, it was a Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry about that. Button wasn't working, but yeah, it was a slight mistake earlier in the morning when we registered the cars, but it worked out in the end.
And quite a good one in the end, wasn't it? Getting P2 in this one. How do you think the performance went for you guys, and what is it looking like for the final round?
I'll give a shout out to Michael because he had a really strong performance. I struggled a bit. It was more of a roller coaster for me, but in the end we got a solid P2 in race 2, which we're happy about.
Boris, I just want to jump in here. You said it was a mix-up. Can I ask what the plan is then for the final round? Because you had some technical issues last time out that kind of dropped the 55 out of that championship picture. Looks like they're all resolved now, and the pace is back in the car. Are you going to stick in the 56, fight it out for the championship, or are you going to go back to driving in the 55 with your teammate there?
Well, after today's race, I think we're going to sit down with the team and decide who's the strongest and go from there. I don't think we've made a decision yet, and once we get closer to the race, though, I think we'll know a little bit more.
And Mats, Boris, sorry, what about this one? Now, you guys have shifted from the BMW to the Lamborghini, and clearly it hasn't had a major impact on your performance. So how has that shift been like for you guys?
Well, I'll let Michael answer this one, and then maybe I can add a couple of things.
Here. Oh, right. Isn't quite... Yeah, here you are.
Hey guys.
But Michael, what's the shift been like? Because you guys were initially with the BMW, then you came in with the Lamborghini, and the kind of laps that you were posting in the second stint today, mind-blowing stuff. That transition seems to be quite an easy one for you guys, it seems.
Yeah, thank you. Starting off this series, I've been looking forward to this race because I know I'm strong here, and I'm glad that I was finally able to show my pace off, this being my first season with RSR. But I will say I think we were at a slight disadvantage, or maybe it was just our setup. We couldn't get it quite dialed in right. We were struggling massively over these big curbs like T6 and T3. It looked like the Husingveld guys had that dialed in. They were nice and steady through that. But coming from the BMW to this car, I drive the Porsche Cup and I drive the Audi a lot, so I guess I'm more comfortable in this type of car.
And it seemed to work out just well. Guys, who would you like to give a shout out to for this big result coming up towards the final round of the season?
Definitely want to give a special shout out to Miroslav, the owner of G Performance. We wish him a speedy recovery.
So that was then
Hopefully,
the crew
Hopefully
of...
it gets well soon. Thank you so much, Boris. Cheers, mate. Have a good one next time out.
Thanks, guys.
That
Thanks, guys.
was the crew of the 56. As mentioned, the owner of G Performance going through some health issues, and all of us here at RaceSpotTV also wish him the best in his fight against his illness. Let's jump on over then to our final step of the podium. Michael Schlax, Nick Madsen, we got to talk to them slightly earlier on, and Samuel Aurora is standing by once again with the crew of the 14 car.
Here we are once again. Nick, I'll start with you for this one. That was intense in the first part. Can you tell us what it felt like initially? Because that was a big chop and change, many gaining of positions. But what does it look like for the final round at CDMP?
It was a tough one in race 2. First of all, you have to get through all the traffic and try to make some clever overtakes. And the overtake from Max in the Heusinkveld car was really not expected. Made a late move, and when it was already too late, I tried to stick with the outside. He was sliding a bit, I was sliding a bit, and in the exit of the chicane, I was really happy to not hit him. But that was a really unexpected move, and I lost a lot of seconds there, and this is where I think the race should end for us. But in the end, we came for the championship lead before Road Atlanta. Here in Road Atlanta, and we're quite happy with that. We really gave our maximum to have that lead after this race, these 2 races. And it was a tough day. Heusinkveld car was just faster today, so we have to put some more hours into it, I think, for the next race.
Hopefully it works out well. And Michael, what about you? I mean, coming towards the final round, what strategy do you have in mind? And it's amazing to see that you guys are still leading without even having a single win. It's just a testament to your consistency. Will you intend to carry that on, or is it going to be more going for the win next time out?
I think that we hadn't a win just because we were very unlucky in some races. In Zandvoort, a win because of the contact with the car from Heusinkveld, and in Silverstone, we missed a rule, and it was our fault for sure. But overall, we were a little unlucky in some episodes, and it means that for the next time we will put together all we have in our pockets, and we try to have the most competitive car in the field. This time we were, especially me, I was not top fitted as in Zandvoort. I had some issues to care about, but the next race will be hard, because I think everybody will come there with the hope to get the championship win. So let's see.
Yeah, should be interesting. And finally, Nick, who would you like to give a shout out to after this result?
I would like to give a shout out to my teammate Michael. He did an awesome job. He had some tough times the last few weeks, and I tried to do my best to get him fit for this race. And normally on a single hot lap, Michael is about 3/10 faster, and today it was already equal, I think. But hopefully Michael can stick into it, and we try to do our best to keep on the lead until the last 2 races. So we hope the best and try really hard for winning this championship.
Should be good. All the best, guys. Have a good one, and see you next time out. All the very best, man.
Thank you, guys.
So, driver duo for Mag Performance Sim Racing, Michael Schlax, Nick Madsen, and we'll take a look at the championship picture once again, right-hand side of the screen. Live points situation, and after yesterday, Samuel, I really didn't expect this to be as close as the Club Support Series, where 2 out of our 3 classes there are separated by single digits in the championship lead. But it's the same here. 3 points between first and second. Hoisingveld still in the picture, less than 30 points behind, and on a roll. 3 wins in a row. And quite honestly, I said it earlier, it's quite hard to count out Team Hoisingveld from being the main favorites heading into Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, a track that's really going to challenge these drivers in such a unique way.
Yeah, momentum is on their side. Momentum clearly is on the side of Team Hoisingveld right now. 3 wins in a row on the trot. Everything, all the stars are aligning for them. But MAC Performance and their consistency, RSR and their sheer star power and the way they're able to extract pace and their proper racecraft, it's just the best three-way battle you could ask for. And the gaps are just so small. And Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Arjun, a bit of an unknown in IVRA competition. But as with IVRA, when we go to tracks that haven't been discovered a lot previously on the iRacing service, I think it should be a very good place for a championship finale.
Yeah, we take a look at this schedule, and yeah, it's been great so far. It started at Silverstone with some insane action, and right off the bat, we knew this would be one of our favorite series to cover out of the 4, and I think Road Atlanta, Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, has just delivered once again. 1 month from today, we'll be live from the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for the final round, the final 2 hours of IVRA GT Sprint coverage in this first season of competition. Sommel, I'm putting you on the spot here. I'm predicting Team Hoisingveld. Who do you have? RSR, MAG Performance, or Team Hoisingveld?
Come on, man, don't ask me 2 difficult questions at this part of the day. Nah, just kidding. I think, objectively, it's hard to look beyond Hoisingveld, isn't it?
I agree. Like I said, 3 for 3 in the last 3 races. I'm not sure what else you could hope for. We will take a look very quickly at the 2021-2022 IVRA competition schedule, because like we mentioned, Sommel, this series that has entertained us so much is now going to expand even further. We'll go from 1 race a month to 2 races a month, and we'll go from 1 season every winter to 2 seasons every winter. So it's going to be great. Can't wait to get underway for this one once again. But before we get there, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, a championship finale, and some other action as well. The day before that, we've got the IVRA Club Sport Championship finale as well. So it's going to be a weekend of IVRA celebrations, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, exactly. It's all just coming together, isn't it? Just like the meme. It's turning out to be a good one.
So, we also got to announce yesterday the IVRA Triple Crown. Let's quickly recap that for you as well. 3 24-hour races, live and uninterrupted on RaceSpotTV. Across the 3 series that IVRA puts on, each of those categories will be featured in their own way. First, the 24 hours of Monza with the GT3 machinery. For in December, the 24 hours of Silverstone, where 911, GT4, and TCR will be on display. Then finally, 7th and 8th of May, the 24 hours of Sebring, where LMP2, GTE, and GT3 cars will take to the bumpy track. And they'll round out 3 24-hour races with $13,000 in prize money on offer. Still a couple of weekends left then in the IVRA GT Sprint Series before we get to our championship finale, but we will be there live at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in 1 month time to catch it all. You've been watching RaceSpotTV. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, and I've been joined by Sommel Aurora for the entirety of today's action. TV cameras provided to us by Istvan Ballo and TrackCams22.com, with additional car cameras provided by Tyler Maxson for us. Live timing and scoring powered by timing71.org, and you can use their world-class suite of data analysis tools to keep up to date on the best in the real and virtual world and follow along with your favorite sim racing stars. You can also follow us on RaceSpotTV for more action in the IVRA competition series, but we'll see you then in 1 month's time for our championship finale north of the border in Canada.